is twofold. I think he emphasizes too much. He's in raising expectations. And second of all, look, voters like to have a contest, and they like underdogs.
We're good, man. Let us know if you guys like this angle.
These 2 or 3 or 4 debates, that could be a problem being asked.
Okay. So, I heard some people aren't going to be in this, like...
Everyone saw the
I heard some people aren't going to be in this debate, like it's not the same people as last time.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought it was the same. I thought Trump is the only one that stayed in Michigan.
I'll look it up.
This is Republican?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not enough Democrats. It's only 3 of them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, 2 of them, because one of them's asleep.
All right, guys, this is our boy Zach. So Brock is coming in. He's just doing some stuff right now. My boy Zach filling in his place right now.
Yeah,
So let's I'm gonna pull up the chat right now so we can see what y'all saying, man.
I want to hear from everybody.
Pull up
what
the
would they do
chat.
differently than Trump did, or what would they do the same, just with a different style? Is the wall, Ukraine, crime, economy? Give us something different.
Got it, Joe. Kelly,
we 10 seconds out.
Carl Rowe, thank you very much.
Good luck to Dana Perino.
Brett, thank you. Good luck to Dana and to the others. Thanks for watching, folks. Second Republican primary debate starts right now.
Audience.
Oh, snap.
We are 3, 2, 1. Let's do it.
Simi Valley stands a monument to one of the most beloved leaders in our nation's history, Ronald Reagan.
Ronald
The
Reagan.
Gipper, the great communicator.
Are they in California? I think they are.
Commander-in-Chief.
There go good old Ray.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
And sought peace through strength.
Mr. Gorbachev,
That is true.
this wall.
40 years after Reagan's landslide re-election, the Republican Party faces critical questions. What does it mean to be a conservative?
We fight for the truth.
We are not going to worry about what the left and the media say about us.
What is the key to a thriving economy?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about DeSantis, man.
America could do for anyone what she's done.
Do you know anybody in this debate, Zach?
I ain't never heard of these people's name before in my life. That's crazy.
What is America's role?
What's her name again?
Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley.
They said she won the last debate.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people keep saying that.
I did see that.
Sometimes you avoid
She quoted Margaret Sanger. You know who that is?
Yeah, that's the lady that's. Wasn't she
With
the
the
feminist
abortions?
or she was the woman that started
Planned
the.
Parenthood with
Yeah,
abortions?
yeah.
That's her.
The Republican nomination converge in
That's
Dallas
crazy.
Christie.
That man!
Grand Old Party. Now
Hey, bro.
is the time for choosing.
You don't see the guy.
They got an airplane.
That is crazy.
That is tough. Hold on, so they in San Diego or they in
They're in
Los
California
Angeles?
somewhere.
It's somewhere in California.
The star went to the south part.
Yeah, I went to the bottom.
Yeah. So it's either San Diego or Los Angeles.
Simi Valley.
Wow.
Yep. Never heard of that part of California.
I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with where it is. Oh, that's actually dope looking.
That is tough.
It's like right under the plane.
That is hard.
Is that like a real plane or is that like a fake?
That's like an old one that they used to use.
That's a real plane. That's actually insane.
Co-moderators Fox News Channel Dana Perino and Ilya
Dana Perino.
Univision.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
He's fighting for his word.
Oh, wow.
I don't blame you, brother.
What a way to start it off.
And tonight, 7
Hey, look, he
candidates
know
will
he
make
messed
the
up.
case
Oh, yeah.
Tweaked, OG.
that city into a
tweaked.
brighter
Go
tomorrow.
get you some water.
But first, they have to convince you, the voter.
Who is
Please
this?
allow me to welcome
Ismaila
our Spanish-speaking
Calderon.
audience.
Yeah, that's the name he
Something like
messed up. He was finding his words to say her name.
Yeah, he couldn't do it.
She looked at him.
That was crazy.
Buscan su voto para las primarias del partido.
Oh my
Bienvenidos.
goodness.
And good evening. So let's meet the candidates who have qualified and chosen to be on this stage tonight. They are positioned by the order they rank in the polls, with the highest polling candidate in the middle. Standing center stage, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Wait, what she said?
She said
He's the highest.
He's the highest.
What that was?
Yeah, look at
Y'all
that
done
boy.
pissed that man off. Hey, that's LeBron right there. He him.
Nikki.
I like Nikki, man. I really do like Nikki, man.
It's South Carolina.
That
My boy Tim.
On me.
Bro, he's so funny,
He
bro.
is funny.
I don't know about this guy, Chris Christie.
Yeah, I don't really like Chris. I don't like Mike either.
Mike is at the end. Mike, get your votes
And North
up.
Dakota Governor Doug Burgum.
We liked Doug last time.
He ain't got no votes, though. He got like 0.5%.
Yet today our nation is drowning in division and incivility.
Voters say they dread the 2024 election and find politics exhausting. 2 in 3 Americans think the country is on the wrong track. And 3 in 4 say the economy is not in good shape.
Prices are up 18% since 2020. More than half of the U.S. population has little access to childcare.
That's crazy.
85% of Americans say their personal finances are a source of stress.
85%? Wow.
Americans want to believe a leader who says, you can follow me.
Kind of still makes sense.
Don't worry.
Just came out of COVID.
President Biden is trying to do that with Bidenomics.
And yesterday, he joined the picket lines where auto workers are demanding more wages and job security. Senator Scott, you recently
Look how old he looks. Look at him move.
You know what's
crazy?
crazy?
A fucking zombie.
You know what's crazy?
In the 1980s, it's saying you strike.
Him and Trump is in Michigan right now.
Would you
That's
fire
crazy.
thousands of
Tim about to
striking
say
auto
something.
workers today, sir?
Let's go, Tim.
Obviously, the President of the United States cannot fire anybody in the private sector. However, we should look back at the first bill in Congress under Joe Biden. The first bill had $86 billion for the union pensions because they continue to overpromise yet underdeliver. One of the challenges that we have in the current negotiations is that they want 4-day French work weeks, but more money. They want more benefits, working fewer hours. That is simply not going to stand. I sat in a finance committee hearing when a widow came before the committee who was promised pensions from the unions, $4,000 a month. Unfortunately, it had been cut to $1,000 a month. We must make sure that we honor the commitments that we make, and one of the ways that we do that, do not overpromise and then underdeliver and leave the taxpayers on the hook. I'll say this, Joe Biden should not be on the picket line. He should be on the southern border working to close our southern border.
Hey, you want to do that? I ain't know that, Tim.
Leading to the deaths of 70,000
He came in locked in.
Americans in the last 12 months
7,000?
because of fentanyl.
Wow.
It is devastating. Every
He's
county
spitting,
in
man. He's
America
yapping for a
is
minute.
now a border county because fentanyl has devastated Americans in every single state. I will also say 6 million illegal crossings since Joe Biden
They stretching it in any drug.
and he eliminated Title 42. The one thing he should do is finish the wall, reinstate Title 42, and get the job done.
Hey, he came in locked in. Okay.
What's Title 42?
We are going to have a lot of questions on the border and immigration, but in the meantime, we do want to talk about the economy and jobs, and especially want to talk about this strike for just a moment more. Mr. Ramaswamy, you've said you really empathize with the strikers. You're standing next to Senator Scott. Do you agree with what he said, or do you think he's wrong?
I agree with some of what he said, for sure. I like the spirit of it. I'll say that I don't have a lot of patience for the union bosses. I think that's where he and I actually have a common view. I do have a lot of sympathy for the workers, however.
My boy came in with the Elvis
hardship
cut.
in this country. I've been through hardship growing up. My father stared down layoffs at GE under Jack Welch's tenure at the GE plant in Evendale, Ohio. My mom had to work overtime in nursing homes in Southwest Ohio to make ends meet and pay off our home loan. So I understand that hardship is not a choice. But victimhood is a choice. And we choose to be victorious in the United States of America. You know what, if I was giving advice to those workers, I would say go picket in front of the White House in Washington, D.C. That's really where the protest needs to be. Disastrous economic policies that have driven up prices.
Tim, like I'm getting cooked.
And mortgage rates. At the same time, wages remaining stagnant. What we need is to deliver economic growth in this country. Unlock American energy. Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear energy, put people back to work by no longer paying them more money to stay at home, stabilize the U.S. dollar itself, and rescind a majority of those unconstitutional federal regulations that are hampering our economy. That is how we unleash American exceptionalism. And that's not a Democratic vision or a Republican vision. That is an American vision that we embrace economic growth. And capitalism is still the best system known known to man to lift us up from poverty, and we should not apologize for it. That's what it means to be an American.
Hey, he cooking again.
He went crazy.
Hey, boy, have you ever heard somebody more articulate than this dude, though? Hey, he crazy,
Ford
bro.
and Stellantis make
You ain't heard
336 times the number of
Somebody said the Illuminati.
rank and file workers. That's just part of a wider income inequality trend in the country. The richest 1% now controls 1/5 of all income.
Damn.
Vice President
That is crazy.
last week you said
1/5?
you side with American workers, but you
How many
also
people are in the 1%?
support how these companies operate. Which is it?
Well, thank you for the question. I want to thank Univision
Don't he
and
look
Fox
like Black
Business
Adam?
for assembling such a
That
wonderful
motherfucker's
forum.
scary, bro.
Look, I do disagree with something Tim Scott just said. Joe Biden doesn't belong on a picket line. He belongs on the unemployment line.
Dang! Hey.
I'm from the second leading manufacturing state in the country per capita. I was governor of the state of Indiana. We brought 12,000 factories back to America during our administration. I know something about manufacturing. And I got to tell you, while the union bosses are talking about class warfare and talking about disparity in wages, I have to tell you, I really believe what's driving that is Bidenomics has failed. Wages are not keeping up with inflation. Auto workers and all American workers are feeling it, and families are struggling in this economy. And Joe Biden's Green New Deal agenda is good for Beijing and bad for Detroit. We ought to repeal the Green New Deal, get rid of the mandates and subsidies that are driving American gasoline automotive manufacturing into the graveyard. And beyond that also, as President of the United States, I'll be standing with workers all across America, and I'll be standing for the right to work of every American to join a union or not join a union as they decide.
Senator Scott, you were mentioned. Will you care to respond?
I liked it.
Joe Biden needs to be fired. That's why I'm running for president. I look forward to being the next president of the United States. I will also say, I know America can do for anyone what she's done for me. It's why we're focusing on restoring hope, creating opportunities, and protecting the America we all love. Growing up in a single-parent household, I wondered if the American dream would work for a kid in the inner city. I've got good news for every single child, whether you're in the inner cities of Chicago or the rural parts of Iowa. America and the dream, it is alive, it is well, and it is healthy. God bless these United States.
There he go with that Martin Luther King's. Nah, I like Tim, though, man. I'm gonna stop playing with
We need to look
Tim.
at exactly what happened. Biden showed up on that picket line, but why are those workers actually there? It's because of all of the spending that he has pushed through in the economy that's
Volumes up,
raised the
guys.
inflation. So when you look at the fact that we are paying higher gas prices, higher grocery prices, $7,000 more a year for families, what we need to do is I came out with an economic plan, eliminate the gas and diesel tax so that they have more money in their pocket. Let's focus on going after middle America and cutting taxes for middle America and collapsing those brackets. Let's get rid of unfair distortions like the state and local tax that they give to wealthy people in blue states and not paid by red states. And let's make sure we make the small business
That is
taxes
crazy.
permanent. They only
That is
made those
crazy.
temporary. They made the corporate taxes permanent. Let's focus on what it takes to get more cash in the pockets of workers. That's when we'll be able to deal with strikes like this, not sitting on a picket line like Joe Biden is.
I don't know why she said that she needs to get the workers more money. I agree.
Yeah, she just cooked.
As a
They're
worker,
coming back, for sure.
they need more money.
You
We're
pause that
missing
real
the
quick?
point.
No, we
and
can't
the
pause.
network is missing the point. The
It's
reason
live.
why people are striking in Detroit is because Joe Biden's interference with capital markets and with free markets. The subsidies, we're subsidizing the automakers and we're subsidizing the cars and a particular kind of car, not every car. We're subsidizing electric vehicles. And when you decide that we're going to take all of your taxpayer monies, take $1 billion, subsidize a certain type of vehicle, and the batteries come from China. China controls 85% of the rare
That
earth
is the
minerals.
problem.
They're called rare earth because they're measured in parts per million. China is moving 100,000 pounds of earth in Indonesia, in Africa. They're literally destroying the planet so that they can make a battery that's in a car subsidized here. That's why they're striking, because they need 2/3 less workers to build an electric car. Joe Biden, this strike is at Joe Biden's feet.
Man, I like this dude for some reason.
Yeah, Doug.
I love Doug.
He's in last place, but I do like him. I like him a lot.
Governor Christie, the government will shut down if Congress does not reach a deal by the end of this week. Vice President Pence warns that politics of, quote, Trump's populist protégés, like Mr. Ramaswamy, are a road to ruin for the GOP. If the government shuts down, should voters blame populist Republicans?
Voters should blame everybody who's in Washington, D.C. They get sent down there to do the job, and they've been failing at doing the job for a very long time. And let's be honest about this with the voters. You know, during the Trump administration, they added $7 trillion. $7 trillion in national debt.
Wow.
And now the Biden administration has put another $5 trillion on and counting. They have failed, and they're in the spot they're in now because none of them are willing to tell the truth. None of them are willing to take on the difficult issues. They just want to keep kicking the can down the road. And the inflation that Nikki spoke about is absolutely right, and it's caused by government spending. And that's why people all across this country are suffering tonight. And yet we don't get any answers because Joe Biden hides in his basement and won't answer as to why he's raising the debt the way he's done.
What's up with this
and Donald
basement?
Trump hides behind the walls of his golf clubs and won't show up here to answer questions like all the rest of us are up here to answer. He put $7 trillion on the debt.
I like that, Christy. Hey, everybody cooked so far.
Those questions for the people you talk about who are suffering. And if the government closes, it's the blame. It is to the blame of everyone in Washington D.C. who has failed to do their job and just plays to the grandstand.
I don't really know how I feel about Chris Christie.
That was good to me. That was good.
He pissed everybody off.
I'm gonna keep it 100.
Can we please
Come on, y'all.
We can get it done.
then Trump had to send the money out during the
Shutting
PPP,
down
right?
the American dream with their reckless behavior. They borrowed, they printed, they spent, and now you're paying more for everything. They are the reason for that.
Yeah.
They have shut down our national sovereignty by allowing our border to be wide
sovereignty.
open. So please spare me the crocodile tears for these people. They need to change what's going on. And where's Joe Biden? He's completely missing in action from leadership. And you know who else is missing in action? Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on this stage tonight. He owes it to you to defend his record where they added $7.8 trillion to the debt. That set the stage for the inflation that we have now. I can tell you this, as governor of Florida, we cut taxes, we ran surpluses, we've paid down over 25% of our state debt, and I vetoed wasteful spending when it came to my desk. And as your president, when they send me a bloating spending bill that's going to cause your prices to go up, I'm going to take out this veto pen and I'm going to send it right back to them.
You mentioned
I mean, it wasn't bad. I liked it.
Man, but you had to call out my president, man.
He didn't do bad.
You had to call out my president.
He got to hit up the top guy.
Childcare costs, they are up. They're topping $10,000 per month. Some families are spending up to half of their income on childcare.
That is
And they're having
crazy.
to decide, is it worth it for me to work or does it not make sense for me financially? In 3 days, billions of dollars in pandemic-era funding is going to end, and 70,000 daycares could close. So you had an effort to broaden eligibility for child care assistance. That fell apart last year. And for the moms and dads out there who are worried, what can you tell them if you weren't able to get it through the Congress? How could you do it as president?
Certainly one of the things I did as a member of Congress was to make sure that we protected the Head Start programs around the country, giving people the opportunity to pick and choose the place that they send their children. The challenges that we see today under the Biden administration is that the cost for daycare has gone over $15,000 per child. In
What?
the Build Back
A year,
Better
maybe.
plan,
Okay,
he
a
called
year.
it a Build Back Better plan. It was going up to $29,000. The way we fix that problem is to make sure that we actually cut taxes and give more Americans their money back. When I helped write the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we actually lowered a single mother's taxes by 70% on the federal level. For dual income households by 60%. Then we went a step further. We doubled the child tax credit and made it refundable. By doing that, more parents had more resources to make the decisions how to take care of their family. The one thing we should do is let the American people keep their money. When that happens, the greatest opportunities rise from the ashes.
I need to jump in.
Wow.
I like that.
He speaks very well. He just talks so slow.
But who's really going to come through with that?
Division is unhelpful in our party. The real divide is not between the Republicans on this stage. And in the Reagan Library, I want to say these are good people on this stage. The real divide is between the majority of us in this country who love the United States of America and share our founding ideals. Free speech, meritocracy, the idea you get ahead in this country, not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character, and the fringe minority in the Democrat Party that has a chokehold over that party. That's the real divide. So this populist versus classical debate is artificial. We need to unite this party.
Can I speak about the administration?
I
want to answer the question on child care. We have
I think we're going to go on. You have to. We have all these questions. We're going to get to you. We're going to come back to you. There's a lot.
Let dude talk, man.
Nobody answered the question. In North Dakota, we knew that the cliff was coming. We knew that there was going to be millions of people.
Let dude talk.
We planned.
Okay.
And when we passed legislation because child care.
We will get you some questions, but you're going to
have to. Man, chill out, man. They joke. They didn't have to do them like that. That was bad.
People got to really come through with these policies, though, because they just could just be spilling shit just to say it.
Said the following.
And came in like the Green
idea
Reaper.
of amnesty for those who have put down roots and who have lived here, even though some time back they may have entered illegally.
My dude.
2 years later, President Reagan granted amnesty to nearly 3 million immigrants, something no Democrat or Republican president has done since. Governor Christie, as governor of a non-border state in 2010, you supported a path to citizenship. But when you ran for president in 2016, you flipped, saying immigrants should be tracked like FedEx packages.
Wow.
Where do you stand now on a path to citizenship for 11 million of undocumented immigrants?
Well, the problem is that since no one has done anything since we first had this discussion 13 years ago, we're not in a position to be able to do any of that anymore. What we have to do now is first treat this like the law enforcement problem it is. Our laws are being broken every day at the southern border, every day. And Joe Biden and his crew is doing nothing about enforcing that law. They are letting it go. And by the way, they announced during the presidential race they were going to let it go. And we need to have a president who acts like I did as governor, enforce the law. First and foremost. And that means what I'll do on day one is sign an executive order to send the National Guard to partner with Customs and Border Patrol to make sure that we stop the flow of fentanyl over the border, but also to make sure that we send a much different message. We want you here in this country to fill the 6 million vacant jobs we have, but only if you come here to follow the law and only if you come here legally. If you come here illegally, we will apprehend you and we will send you back across the border from which you came. And the fact is that until we set a law and order agenda in this country, not only now but in the future, we won't be able to continue this. And I'll look.
I don't disagree with what he said.
This as well. He said he was going to build a wall across the whole border. He built 52 miles of wall and said Mexico would pay for it. Guess what? I think if Mexico knew that he was only going to build 52 miles, they might have paid for the 52 miles.
Thank you.
I'm liking Christie a little bit on that one. Hey, everybody cooking,
from
bro.
countries south of the border.
Is Vivek one
You've seen the Fox News drone that's
cooking.
captured this steady stream of people coming into the country on a daily basis. In fact, I believe we have a live picture of it tonight that is happening right now, live. In the last decade, the U.S. has spent
everybody to come, and now we've seen 6 million people cross the border. We've had more fentanyl that have killed Americans in the Iraq, Vietnam, or Afghanistan wars combined. We need to make sure that we are a country of laws. The second we stop being a country of laws, we give up everything this country was founded on. So we have to secure the border. The way we do that is, first of all, defund sanctuary cities. You see what's happening in Philadelphia right now. It's got to stop. We need to make sure we put 25,000 more Border Patrol and ICE agents on the ground and let them do their job. I spent 400 miles down that border, and I'm telling you, Border Patrol agents aren't allowed to do their job. Let's go back to remain in Mexico policy. Instead of catch and release, let's go to catch and deport.
What about the aid that federal taxpayers are paying to deal with the root causes? It's not working.
The
Or is
only
it?
aid that we should be spending right now is to secure the border, the southern border, the northern border, period.
You would cut
we
off
need
aid
to
to the
keep
region?
Americans safe, and right now Americans are not safe. Only when we
Cut off
fix the
aid to the
immigration
region? What
system,
does she
only
mean?
when we get the border secure, should we ever look at putting any more money into this. Our money should be about keeping Americans safe. We're not doing that. Joe Biden's not doing that. And you mentioned Congress and shutting down government. I'll make it clear. We have to change the budget process in 4 years. In 40 years. Congress has only delivered a budget on time 4 times in 40 years.
All right.
If they don't keep the government open, they should not get paid. No pay, no budget.
I like her! She be cooking every time.
China invested $12 billion in Latin America just last year.
$12
They
billion?
signed strategic partnerships with 7 countries, including Mexico. And China's military ties to the region now include arms sales and training exercises.
So they finna be part of
Are you
BRICS too?
comfortable
That's
with
crazy.
China
South
deepening
America?
ties with our southern neighbors?
Of course not. And the reason
We have
why
to go
we're in this
secure
mess
that.
is because
That's the
elites
problem.
in D.C. for far too long have chosen surrender over strength when it comes to the CCP. Some people in our country got rich, our industrial base got hollowed out, and they have been able to build the second most powerful military in the entire world. We need a totally new approach to China. We are going to have real hard power in the Indo-Pacific, like Reagan, to deter their ambitions. We're going to have economic independence from China, where we're decoupling our economy, and we are going to go after the cultural power they have in this country. As governor of Florida, I
said
banned the
decouple with
CCP
China?
from buying land in our state. We should do that all across these United States. We shouldn't have them in our universities. We shouldn't have
Right.
Confucius institutes. So you see a country in decline, our power's in decline. China's going to surpass us this decade, and if they do that, that's going to affect every single American household. As your president,
Wow.
I am not going to let that happen. I'm going to reverse this country's decline. We are going to choose strength,
You're gonna
not
have to show me,
surrender when it
bud.
comes to the CCP.
America's not
The CCP is.
under Joe Biden.
Forgot what it was. I thought we learned that.
Quote,
Something with
universal
China.
deportation for all undocumented immigrants and their children, even if the children are citizens of the United States. Under what legal premise will you expel U.S. citizens?
So the first thing I want to say is I agree with everything. The Republicans on the stage are on the right side of this issue. Militarize the southern border, stop funding sanctuary cities, and end foreign aid to Mexico and Central America to end the incentives to come across. But I do go a step further. You're right about that, Ilya. I favor ending birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal immigrants in this country.
Illegal.
Now, the left will howl about the
Illegal.
Constitution and the 14th Amendment. The difference between me and them is I've actually read the 14th Amendment. What it says is that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the laws and jurisdiction thereof are citizens. So nobody believes that the kid of a Mexican diplomat in this country enjoys birthright citizenship. Not a judge or legal scholar in this country will disagree with me on that. Well, if the kid of a Mexican diplomat doesn't enjoy birthright citizenship, then neither does the kid of an illegal migrant who broke the law to come here. And as the father of 2 sons, it is hard for me to look them in the eye and say, you have to follow the law when our own government fails to follow its own laws. That's how we really go the distance and solve this problem and restore the rule of law in the United States of America, because that is part of what it even means to be an American.
Man, the debate!
Y'all already know.
In the debate!
Y'all already
Mr.
know.
Ramaswamy have run on that issue.
Yeah, there's no doubt the fact that when you think of the Constitution and the 14th Amendment, it was certainly written as it relates to slavery, not as it relates to illegal immigration. It's been applied to illegal immigration. So the challenge that we face is, in fact, one that has to do with whether or not the people that come here are under the jurisdiction of our laws. And frankly, if you come here illegally, you are not. Now, surviving a Supreme Court argument is something I can't tell you. But from a perspective of the Constitution, I think it's simple that clearly it was designed for slavery and not for illegal immigration. I'll go one step further, though. When we have a conversation about the things that are happening on this stage, we think about the fact that Vivek just said we were all good people, and I appreciate that because last debate he said we were all bought and paid for, and I thought about that for a little while.
He did say that.
I
No, I
can't
thought he
imagine
did say
how
that.
you could say that knowing that you were just in business with the Chinese Communist Party.
Oh,
and
shit.
The
It's finna get real now.
Hunter Biden, millions of dollars, was a partner of yours as well. It's not nonsense.
So look, here's what I want to
Oh.
who are tainted
They pulling
by
the skeletons out the closet.
system. And it's not the fault of anybody who's involved.
Some of
us are tainted.
But the bottom line is when you say
Excuse
bought and
me.
paid for.
Thank you for speaking while I'm interrupting. While I'm speaking.
literally, you said
If
bought
I
and
may
paid for.
finish.
Some of
If
us
I may
are
finish.
challenge.
You'll have your turn.
You can't be on both sides.
Gentlemen, you'll have
Just
your
put the
turn.
gloves on.
Two hands on point.
DeSantis will beat everybody else.
You think so?
Yeah.
Tim gonna do I might go Tim.
I actually agree with Ron DeSantis.
DeSantis was the only one in the military.
So if I may,
Oh,
I
was
agree
he?
with Ron
Yeah.
DeSantis on China.
Oh,
when
shoot.
every
He might
other
whoop their
CEO
ass.
expanded into the Chinese market, you know what I did with my first company? We opened a subsidiary in China. But you know what I did that was different than every other company? We got the hell out of there. And when I started my next
right
company,
before you ran for
Strive, right when it, no, that's
2023.
years ago.
2023.
Right when I started my next company,
no.
Strive,
They're
to compete against BlackRock.
They trying to team up on my dog.
I made a commitment that we would never do business in China. And I will say something.
I think you have more than time to explain your point.
Well, if I was interrupted by a lot of people here, and I want to be respectful because I believe these
you
are
were
good
respectful
people,
last debate.
but I do not believe in these. We're sitting here in the Reagan Library.
Yes, I wish you
in
did
the
not think it
honor
was
of
midnight
Ronald
in
Reagan's
America.
library, if I may.
Boy.
From one admirer of Ronald Reagan to another. From one admirer of Reagan to another, we cannot
do
sit.
deals with
I'm
the
getting
seniors
lost in
years ago?
This isn't productive.
I like this. Get
Let's have a
active.
policy debate.
Understand what's going on.
Let us have a policy debate.
Let's have about their records.
Let's have
It's
a
getting
policy
messy.
debate.
It
And the
is.
right answer is
Ramaswamy,
we need
I have
to
a question
declare
for Vice
independence
President
from
Pence.
China.
Thank you very
And I will
much.
see that through.
Wow.
Vice President Pence, in 2017,
Pence
the Trump
is
Pence
still there?
administration canceled
What you think about her?
DACA, which put the legal status of
Chill,
600,000 dreamers in the hands of the courts. Dreamers work and they pay taxes. As president, if the Supreme Court ends DACA, would you work with Congress to reach a permanent solution for dreamers?
Well, first, let me say I'm glad Vivek pulled out of his business deal in 2018 in China. That must have been about the time you decided to start voting in presidential elections.
Wow, everybody cooking my dog.
Participating in elections. So let me
They're
speak
trying to burst his
this
bubble
issue.
because he beating them.
I negotiated the Remain in Mexico policy with the Mexican government. We used economic power to bring the Mexican government to the table.
Faster.
We built hundreds of miles of border wall. And despite what's said here today, we reduced illegal immigration and asylum abuse by 90%. And as President of the United States, I can do it again. And the truth is, we need to fix a broken immigration system, and I'll do that as well. But
We do need to do
first
that.
and foremost, a nation without borders is not a nation. And we have to secure the southern border of the United States of America. I know how to do it, and we will do it again. Let me
We
say
know
one
all
other
y'all
thing
want to do
about
that.
China.
These are basic questions.
They keep saying that. How are you gonna do it, bro? How are you gonna do it, bro?
Give a solution to the problem that dreamers have right now. They
Who's
are on a
dreamers?
limbo.
Well, let me tell you, I served in Congress for 12 years, although it seemed longer. But you know, something I've done different than everybody on this stage is I've actually secured reform in Congress. You know, Ron, you talk a really good game about cutting spending, but you've increased spending in Florida by 30%.
Oh shit!
When I was a member of
Pull the
Congress
skeletons
in
out the closet.
2006, right after Hurricane Katrina, Dana, you remember it, we stood our ground. I led House conservatives. We cut $100 billion out of the federal budget. It can be done, but as I said in the last debate, I'll say again, this is no time for on-the-job training. I'm going to be ready on day one to get Congress to step up, secure the southern border
Another
of the
4
United
years,
States,
brother, you gonna be like
build a
Biden.
military fitted to our times,
hope not.
and we're going to get spending in Washington, D.C. under control once and for all.
I got mentioned on that one.
Man, let Dale go.
I want to hear it with DeSantis.
How will these candidates make America safer as rising crime
Oh, they
plagues
taking
our
breaks?
cities?
It's probably a commercial break.
Yeah, you know they need that.
In moments.
I might need it. I don't know. Everybody
Black
cooking
people in
really good so far, guys.
Wow, that's a kind of.
I'm not learning.
burst.
I might need a water burst.
Welcome back. It was on a slow boil.
What y'all think, chat?
A slow
How y'all
boil
feel,
until
chat?
I think what triggered it was when
I
Vivek
don't know.
Ramaswamy invoked Reagan's 11th commandment, thou shalt not criticize another
Yeah,
Republican.
that did
and
trigger
everyone
it.
looked
I
at him
forgot
and
about
said,
that.
say what? And it was
Last
Tim
time.
Scott who made the opening
basically said, I'm the
salvo,
only one that
pivoting
read
off
the
of a
14th
question on
Amendment.
immigration to go after
Said,
Vivek
unlike
Ramaswamy. There was a lot of
y'all,
chaos
I
and a
read the
lot of
14th
talking
Amendment.
after that. Jason Chaffetz, it was interesting to see
And they
Tim
start cooking
Scott
his
be the
ass.
first one to pivot off and take the shots, and it really did open up the dam broke.
Man, this
after
is so
that.
interesting.
Yeah, I think Senator Scott was actually very effective with that. I think he was clear. He had a great first answer, but to him then come back and throw that back at Vivek Ramaswamy is one of the most memorable things from the
Hell,
first
Tim.
debate. I think was really effective. And
Everybody's
people will go
hilarious. The chat
back and
is so
talk about
hilarious,
that
man.
and what
Y'all are
actually
some funny
happened and
people in the
what
chat.
did he do
For
and
real.
not do in China. That draws attention to some of his business dealings in China.
Man, they was cooking.
No doubt,
Trump
Rachel.
ass.
Take it anywhere you want, guys.
Hey, you
I'll
gotta
keep
take shots.
you
He's
take it
winning.
anywhere you want. It was
Yeah.
interesting that
They're trying to take him
DeSantis
down
has
a
now
notch.
joined
They say he
Chris
should be
Christie
there.
in
If
sort
he
of
wins,
calling out
he
Trump
should be
directly
without going to-
on
Wait,
not
wait.
being at
Heard
the
they said-
debate and debt. He seems
Well,
he's
do he
leaning
have
into
to?
that approach.
I think it's smarter.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I
Not
think
to
that
go.
shows that
Because
Ron
everybody
DeSantis
already, they act like they
thinks
don't
he
like
can
him
break
anyways
away
already.
and then
So, like,
challenge,
why would I be around
Donald
people, you know?
Trump, whereas the others are not doing that yet. I will say this, I thought Burgum was, I know this is maybe a Will question because Will's kind
'Cause
of
it's like
always
childish,
like,
like-
Burgum.
But why would I be there with somebody
But I
that betrayed
really loved
me?
that when that first
That was supposed to be
question
my
came up,
teammate,
he
you know what I'm
jumped- He was the
saying?
one who had
It's
the
like,
right
F all
answer. He
y'all.
was like, listen, that whole union line, everything that's
Makes
happening,
sense.
this is about EV vehicles. This is about this policy. I thought
How do
he
y'all
was
feel
the one
about
that had the
EV
best
vehicles?
answer on that. Tim
gas
Scott
guy.
clearly got
I don't know.
a lot of advice from the last.
I was liking the Tesla
debate
at
where
first.
He sort of
You gotta charge that
swung,
motherfucker all the
into the
time.
woodwork a
That's
little
pissing
too
me
much.
off.
So he's
I tried
trying
to
to
tell
come out
Brock.
punching.
Hybrids-
I still
hybrids are
think
good.
sometimes he
I told
sounds
Brian,
a
he was
little
trying to get it. I said,
cliche,
hey, I know what type of person you
a little
is.
bit
Yeah.
too much.
I thought
Yeah.
about a Tesla, y'all, but I didn't do it. I stayed
Yeah, you're
with
right.
the
There was I
scat.
kind of had ho-hum
I had
answers
to
all the
teach
way
him to
down
be a
to
true
Burgum.
American,
He
y'all.
didn't
Can't teach
said
me
what it
shit.
was.
I just
He-
thought about it.
He said,
He tried to take
bruh.
some shit.
Bruh.
I thought Burgum's answer
Said, Brock,
himself
don't do
just was
it.
the best
He
of the
said
night
that's all he
indirectly.
said.
I said, I know what type of person you is.
He's absolutely right. The strike
You ready
is
to
about
go.
pushing EV, subsidizing
You wanna sit
EV
there and wait.
vehicles. He only left
Everybody
out it's
time
also about
to charge
inflation,
no
which is also
Tesla.
caused by Biden policies, spending and printing
An
money.
hour, I'd be happy.
But I do want to disagree with Jason on something just stylistically, really quickly.
They
I thought
walked
Tim-
off to go get some
it's as I
drinks.
predicted. They were going to go after Vivek, right? They're going, and it
Hey,
wasn't just
Chad.
Tim Scott. You could hear Nikki
And
Haley
it-
jump in, Ron
It
DeSantis
was
jump in, Mike Pence
everybody.
jumped in.
Who y'all think gonna
Everybody was
win,
ready
man?
to come after Vivek, and Vivek
Who
obviously
y'all
got
think
the
gonna win,
advice
y'all? Put it
to
in
come
there,
in
man.
being a little
You know
more
what? You might as
collegial
well.
tonight. He's
I'm
been
gonna put
trying
a
to
poll
strike
down.
that tone.
I'm at a
I
poll.
thought Tim Scott, Jason, was good with his initial question. It's very valid and it's strong. But then he undercuts himself by continuing to interrupt Vivek. He just kept, I couldn't hear anything Vivek was saying because Tim Scott kept saying, I'm just asking a question. Well, he kept going. Land your punch and then trust that the other guy is going to have trouble with it. I just think stylistically what he ends up doing is undercutting himself because I couldn't hear anything. And then they all jumped in. DeSantis was in there. Everybody was talking.
Totally agree with you, Will, because then nobody can hear what's going on. Dana Perino was actually
We're out
foreshadowed
of time,
that,
guys.
so.
We'll be back in the
Chris
next
Christie got a
commercial break.
little love for me
Back
this
to the
time.
moderators.
Because I didn't like Chris Christie at all. Chris Christie was talking some shit this time.
Bro said the whole hood going for
And
Trump.
welcome back to the Reagan Library for the second Republican presidential debate. I do want to just remind everyone, there's 1 minute for questions, 3 seconds for a follow-up, and the more you mention each other, that means the fewer questions you're going to get. Okay, so we want to talk about crime. This has been a horrendous problem in our country.
been bad.
Fox News and others have been covering it. Governor Christie, crime in major cities is striking fear into the hearts of Americans. Just last night, looters took over the streets of Philadelphia.
Yeah. Don't watch our video on
You said in the
that,
last
guys.
debate that you would use U.S. attorneys to prosecute crimes local prosecutors won't. But they are stretched as well, and they could not handle all of the lawlessness, the shoplifting, all the carjackings, the armed robberies. They're all surging. Progressive prosecutors were elected by their constituents, and they can't be fired by a president. So what would you do
I might fight for that big.
end the revolving door of criminality?
Well, look, Dana, the only one on this stage who's done it. For 7 years, I ran the 5th largest office in this country at the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey, and we set records for the number of prosecutions that we brought that still have not been broken.
Last time.
And the reason was that we went after the crime that was affecting people's lives. And as president, I will appoint an attorney general and instruct that attorney general that you are to put all the resources that are necessary to bring our cities back under control. The fact is, they will be stretched. There's no doubt about that, but that's what they take the job for, because they love the idea of enforcing the law. We've got to bring law and order back to this country, and not just in our cities, but we need the law and order back everywhere. We need law and order back in our suburbs. People are threatened there. We need it in our rural areas. People feel threatened there. And we need it in Washington, D.C. also. And Donald Trump should be here to answer for that, but he's not. And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself.
What?
I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight. Not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on this stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
No! Hey, Donald, you got to put the gloves on now. That's bad.
They're throwing shots.
As president, you would not have the ability to do that. How do you think about dealing with the root causes of crime, especially this revolving door of the criminals?
Man,
they just get out and come back and commit another crime.
Well, the crime in these cities is one of the strongest signs of the decaying of America. We can't be successful as a country if people aren't even safe to live in places like Los Angeles and San Francisco.
That's true.
Just being in Southern California over the last couple of days, my wife and I have met 3 people who have been mugged on the street.
Wow.
And that would have never happened.
Yeah, it happens
10 or
bad in
20
California.
years ago. In Florida, we back the blue. We
Godless
support the men and
land.
women of law enforcement. They are keeping us safe. We have a 50-year low in the crime rate. And yes, when I had 2 progressive prosecutors that weren't following the law in Florida, I removed them from their post, and the people of Florida are safer as a result of it. As president, I will use the Justice Department to bring civil rights cases against all of those left-wing Soros-funded prosecutors. We're not going to let them get away with it anymore. We want to reverse this country's decline. We need to choose.
I ain't gonna lie, I done seen the worst people in Florida. I can't get
What are they getting away with?
A lot of people there. Governor Haley, there's a nationwide policing shortage. Retirements are up.
Why can't Doug talk?
In the tank. Morale is at a record low. 3 years ago, you signed a pledge to support law enforcement. Now, pledges are a nice idea, but what's your actual plan to get more police on our streets?
Well, and I actually did it in South Carolina, too. You know, what we knew in South Carolina was you take care of those who take care of you. We have to start taking care of law enforcement, but it's not just taking care of them with words. It's making sure that you also follow through on what they do. Right now, we have a lot of stolen guns on the street. Well, these law enforcement officers, they arrest these people, and then they go and they're let out the very next day. So law enforcement feels like no one has their back. We have to start prosecuting according to the law. We have to make sure we have the backs of law enforcement, and we have to make sure that we're a country of law and order. But I want to go back to China because I don't think we spent enough time on that. Right now, we have to look at what government's doing to hurt us against China, too. You have a company, U.S. Antibiotics, that produces amoxicillin, the #1 antibiotic that we need. And right now, there is a company in Bristol, Tennessee, that produces that, yet our federal government only gets it from China. We need to be focusing on companies that produce in America and supporting those companies that produce in America, not companies that are helping China.
She be cooking. I'm allergic to it.
They want us to, want us to chill.
It's like medicine, huh? Stay in the topic of crime because
it's like steroid.
It affects all of us. Governor Burgum, for the first time ever, a Univision poll found that mass shootings and gun safety are one of the most important issues for Latino voters. Mental health concerns are not unique to the United States, but gun violence is. What is your specific plan to curb gun violence?
Well, first we need to know is understand is I think that the liberal left seems to be just completely bent on prosecuting law-abiding citizens that are gun owners, because every solution they have to this is take away the Second Amendment rights of Americans, and somehow that's going to solve the problem. But all these cities that we're talking about that you showed the videos of tonight, they have some of the strictest gun laws in the country. So we know that that's not what's working. But what we have to do is get back to the core issues about the family. We have to get back to behavioral health and mental health. We've got to get back to actually enforcing the laws these people talked about. And like we've done in North Dakota, where we've got the goal and we're on the track to being the most military-friendly state in the nation. We've got the most military and the most support of what we're doing in terms of law enforcement, because the morale is down because we've been defunding the police, because they've been attacked in the press. The police have become the bad guys when they're the one. There's all these jobs available in America. Why would you be a policeman if people don't even respect them? Every time I see a policeman, the first thing I say is thank you. And so does everybody else in my family and most of the people in our state, because they know we have to respect the people that are out there defending us every single day.
Hey, can I answer the question on that?
Let Doug cook.
Mr. Ramaswamy, according to Customs and Border Protection, about 90% of fentanyl is seized at official border crossings. And 57% of the smugglers are U.S. citizens.
57% are U.S. citizens?
Brought into the country, mostly by U.S. citizens, through ports of entry.
There's two sides to this, and we have to be very honest about it. One is we do have to seal that southern border. Building the wall is not enough. They're building cartel-financed tunnels underneath that wall. Semi-trucks can drive through them. We have to use our own military to seal the Swiss cheese of the southern border. But we also have to be honest. There's a demand-side problem in this country, too, a mental health epidemic. I met family in Iowa. Two parents, Kathy and Derek. They lost their son, Sebastian, 17 years old. He bought Percocet on Snapchat, and then he died. Why did he die? Because it was laced with fentanyl. That is closer to bioterrorism, not a drug overdose. That is poisoning. So it is our job to make sure that never happens. But it's also our job to make sure that 17-year-olds don't turn to Percocet via Snapchat. We have to bring back mental health care in this country. Not with pumping pharmaceuticals, but with faith-based approaches that restore purpose and meaning in the next generation of Americans. Many of them are getting it through social media. And this isn't a Republican point or a Democrat point, but if you're 16 years old or under, you should not be using an addictive social media product, period. This is something that we can both agree on, and we can revive both the mental health of this country while stopping the fentanyl epidemic that will kill more people this year than who died on 9/11. And I refuse to be a passive bystander sitting in the White House like the hollowed out husk of a current president we have. We will step up and address this problem to stand for Americans and our children.
Don't tell me you're going to win again.
Everything he said, I agree with. That is why, as Commander-in-Chief, I'm going to use the U.S. military to go after the Mexican drug cartels. They are killing our people. And the stories that I've seen in Florida, we had an infant, 18 months. Parents rented an Airbnb. And apparently the people that had rented it before were using drugs. The infant was crawling, the toddler was crawling on the carpet and ingested fentanyl residue and died. Are we just going to sit here and let this happen, this carnage happen in our country? I am not going to do that. I guarantee you on day one, this border is going to be a day one issue for me as president. We're going to declare it a national emergency. Yes, we'll build the wall. We'll do remain in Mexico. But those Mexican drug cartels are going to be treated like the foreign terrorist organizations that they are.
President Pence.
Let's get their ass then.
We're going to move on to a different issue. Hold on, sir. Vice President Pence.
Yes, China is selling the fentanyl to the Mexican cartel, though. That's what make it more crazy.
Obamacare mandates. However, you also made that same promise in 2016. And at that time, Trump-Pence had congressional majorities for at least the first 2 years, and you did not deliver on that promise. So Obamacare right now is more popular than ever. Why should Americans trust you, if you become president, to fix that, or is Obamacare here to stay?
Well, first, let me speak to the mass shootings issue, and then I'll answer that question. It's an important one, Dana. Look, I'm someone that believes that justice delayed is justice denied. And as a father of three, as a grandfather of three beautiful little girls, I am sick and tired of these mass shootings happening in the United States of America. And if I'm president of the United States, I'm going to go to the Congress of the United States, and we're going to pass a federal expedited death penalty for anyone involved in a mass shooting so that they will meet their fate.
Well, I don't think that's
going to
stop it, though.
Years.
Because a lot of people kill themselves after they do it.
That the Parkland shooter, Ron, is actually going to spend the rest of his life behind bars in Florida. That's not justice. We have to mete out justice and send a message to these would-be killers that you are not going to live out your days behind bars. You're going to meet justice in this city.
Does that mean Obamacare is here to stay?
Wait, what?
Yeah, he still didn't answer her question.
He looked like he could protect us from anything.
Thank you for reiterating the question, because I'd love to answer it. Look, I think it's one of the choices here. You know, my former running mate, Donald Trump, actually has a plan to start to consolidate more power in Washington, D.C., consolidate more power in the executive branch. If I'm president of the United States, it's my intention to make the federal government smaller by returning to the states those resources and programs that are rightfully theirs under the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. That means all Obamacare funding, all housing funding, all HHS funding, all of it goes back to the states. We'll shut down the Federal Department of Education. Will allow states to innovate.
I like that.
We're going to revive federalism in America, and states are going to help bring America back.
I like that.
Remind everyone to keep within their time frame so we can get as many questions in as possible. Next question for Governor DeSantis. Over 26 million Americans don't have insurance coverage. Governor DeSantis, 2.5 million of them are in your state. That's worse than the national average. Can Americans trust you on this?
Well, I think this is a symptom of our overall economic decline. Everything has gotten more expensive. You see insurance rates are going through the roof.
Yes.
People that are going to get groceries. I spoke with a woman in Iowa, and she said, you know, for the first time in my life, I'm having to take things out of my grocery cart when I get to the checkout line because the total goes up so quickly. So this is very real, and people are hurting out there. So we've got to address the underlying problem with Bidenomics, the overspending, taking all Biden's rules and regulations. I'm going to throw them in the trash can on day one. You're not going to have to worry about that. We're going to open up all of our energy. We will be energy dominant in this country. That will lower your gas prices. And what we need to do with healthcare is recognize our healthcare is putting patients at the back of the bus. We have big pharma, big insurance, and big government, and we need to tackle that and have more.
Well, we got to slow it down, guys. Oh, well, we can't put the volume up right here. Wow. Okay.
It's about the boom in the headphones.
Guys, are we moving? Like, let's see if we're moving. Why is it buffering, guys? Let us know if we're good.
Yeah, it does look choppy.
Yeah, it's just choppy.
Are we good, guys? Check.
Go to go to the what you call it real
The
quick?
actual stream?
Streamlabs, yeah. All right, hold on.
Good to me.
Hold on.
The viewer count going down.
Oh no, go back. I'm trying to see the bit rate. Is they showing the bit rate on there? Where is it at?
You look good to me.
Yeah,
Guys,
just
are we
keep
still
going.
good? Let's see. Oh, it's in and out, I think. Dang, man, we're on a good roll. I think we're good now. We should be good.
Where's the white PC?
Pause. 1 minute.
The what?
The PC, his PC.
Oh, the big one?
Are we good, guys?
Tyler got it.
It keeps frigging. Why? I don't know. That's weird. We are lagging too. I can kind of.
Damn, we didn't lost 600 viewers.
Damn.
That sucks.
Damn, 700.
Dang, guys. We'll try to pick it back up. I don't know.
YouTube. Man, this is...
But on Streamlabs, it looks like we're good, though. I don't know.
This
why.
YouTube trying to do it to us, man. They don't like this.
No, it's working fine now.
It's working good now?
We're behind a little bit on.
Let us know if we're good, guys.
Yeah, it's like we're behind.
It sucks. Yeah, we are behind. I know. That's what I'm trying to figure out how to catch up.
Okay. Let's let the headphones. Guys, are we?
Yeah, let it ride. It should be straight now. Should be straight. Big Glory to go from the team.
Okay, we're moving stream. Yeah, we paused it, guys. That's why. But are we moving slow? Is it choppy? Oh, it's still choppy, bro.
We're good now. We're good now. I don't look choppy right now.
Let it
Sure.
ride, bro.
I don't want to let it ride, and we're choppy the whole time. That would suck.
Look, is that?
Everyone says it's good. Everyone says it's good.
Okay, we're good. We're good. Froze. Some people still saying we're froze.
It's because.
They
No,
said
we're not
fine.
froze. We're not froze, bro. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, started, bro.
It's only when DeSantis is frozen. That's the only person because
Okay,
we
guys.
paused.
Dang it. We're back in it. Okay.
Power for the people and the doctor-patient relationship.
Governor, why is your record in
Let us know if we're
Florida
good,
on insurance worse than the national average?
It's our state's a dynamic state. We've got a lot of folks that come. Of course, we've had a population boom. We also don't have a lot of welfare benefits in Florida. You know, we're basically say this is a field of dreams. You can do well in the state, but we're not going to be like California and have massive numbers of people on government programs without work requirements. We believe you work and you got to do that, and so that goes for all the welfare benefits. And you know what that's done, Stuart? Our unemployment rate is the lowest amongst any big state. We have the highest GDP growth amongst any big state, and even CNBC, no fan of mine, ranked Florida the #1 economy in America.
On the topic of healthcare, Governor Haley, healthcare is the leading cause of bankruptcy for American families, accounting for 2/3 of all personal bankruptcies. As president, how you protect Americans who get sick from financial ruin?
First of all, how can we be the best country in the world and have the most expensive health care in the world? We have an issue. My mom was in the hospital, and when she was in the hospital, they tried to bring her a couple of Tylenol, and she said, I don't need it. And they said, honey, go ahead and take it because you're paying for it anyway. Why is it that when we got the bill, the insurance company and the hospital negotiated the bill for her without her having anything to do with it? When I am president, we will break all of it, from the insurance company to the hospitals to the doctor's offices to the PBMs to the pharmaceutical companies. We will make it all transparent, because when you do that, you will realize that's what the problem is. Second thing is you've got to deal with tort law.
It is expensive.
The doctors don't give you the 10 tests because they want to. It's because of the 90% chance they'll get sued. And then we need to bring competition back to healthcare, get rid of certificate of need systems, and make sure that they can compete. We have to put the patient in the driver's seat. They've been in the back seat for way too long. And once we give the patient the ability to decide their health care, deciding which plan they want, that is when we will see magic happen. But we're going to have to make every part of the industry open up and show us where their warts are, because they all have them, and we need to fix this on behalf of the American people.
In 30 seconds, do you have a better way in 30 seconds?
Well, yes, we're not talking about the real problem ever. We talk about why do we have the most expensive health care in the world? It's because the federal government got involved the same way they did with EVs, and they said, we're going to subsidize a particular kind of software back in 2008 under Obama, and they said, hey, we're going to do this. It's going to make everybody more productive. All of you that are watching have been to a doctor's office when the doctor's got his back to you and their hands on a keyboard. The only industry in the world that's ever absorbed $1 trillion of IT and became less productive, they saw less patients per day, is U.S. healthcare, because they were subsidizing a certain kind of technology. It wasn't about improving healthcare. It was about picking winners and losers. Every time the federal government's involved, whether it's higher education, healthcare, or now the auto industry, things get more expensive and less competitive.
Because we are going to move on the future of education in America. What's the government's role in finding a way forward?
Let me find out. People are paying to have more talk time, bro. Because DeSantis has talked more than anybody, bro.
Yeah, they keep asking.
It's probably based on the polls.
Teaching our children what America is and what she represents.
They're not letting Doug talk at all.
They are.
I haven't heard Christy in a minute. Like, dang.
On the hose and Doug.
Christy just told.
This is crazy, bro. I like that.
Let's get this commercial.
Could you?
welcome back. I got a little birdie in my ear told me that Dana Perino, maybe we saw a little bit of a different tone in this second portion because she did a little scolding of the candidates about, let's pay attention.
Of the United States. I thought Dana Perino smacking down the vice president saying, why don't you answer the question, was just, I mean, that was a TV moment. Yes. She was in her element, and she made the point because Vice President Pence was off talking about something totally unrelated to the question. Yeah. And I do think Ron DeSantis, again, scored points
a real life
the country
superhero,
wants
bro.
to be more like Florida than any other place. They're looking at their own state saying, hey, why can't we be like Florida?
Yeah, he had a pretty good,
Pete,
strong,
really quick.
Steady. Go ahead, Rachel. Take it. We got about 30 seconds.
I was just going to say, did Mike Pence negotiate the Remain in Mexico? I mean, it's kind of interesting how he tries to take credit for a lot of things. Everyone knows that if Mike Pence had been in charge, immigration policy, Trump immigration policy would not be the way, he would be a lot more lenient.
He takes credit for things that work.
Bro, they have to let Doug talk, bro.
All right, we're back.
Like, it seems like they're paying for more talking time, but it could be the polls. But like, everybody's on stage. Everybody needs to talk the same amount.
Ronald Reagan presidential
Bro, do you see that? That's hard. Look, bro.
That's hard. And let's get back to our questions, Governor Haley. American students, they are in academic trouble. They have lower scores in math and reading. There's chronic absenteeism. That's at record highs. And this has even been called education homicide.
Wow.
You say school choice is the answer, but South Carolina, your home state, still has not enacted universal school choice. And even the current expansion won't be fully implemented until 2027. Parents can't wait 4 years for a fix. So what would you do right now?
Well, and school choice isn't the only answer, but I'll tell you it's not out of a lack of trying that we didn't try and get school choice in South Carolina. What I'll tell you, first of all, is we have to acknowledge the fact that 67% of our 8th graders are not proficient in reading or math. Over 80% of our 8th graders aren't proficient in history or civics. And recently they came out and said our 12 and 13-year-olds are scoring at the lowest level they've been scoring in reading and math in decades. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to make sure we catch our kids back up. We have to make sure they can read. A child that can't read by 3rd grade is 4 times less likely to graduate high school. We need to do reading remediation. We need complete transparency in the classroom. No parent should ever wonder what's being said or taught to their child in the classroom. We need to make sure that we have school choice so that there's competition. We need to move all the programs from the federal government down to the states and let states decide what education looks like in their states. Right. And we need to start building things in America again. Let's put vocational classes back in our high schools and let's get our kids building the things that we know we can make. When we start to focus on that and really bring in that parental involvement, that's when we'll start to see a difference. But we've got to get parents back included.
I agree.
We've got to quit spending time on this DEI and CRT and instead focus on financial literacy, on digital literacy, and on making sure that our kids know what they need to do to have the jobs of the next generation.
I agree.
Yeah, me too. Education,
but there wasn't no reason why them kids shouldn't be able to read.
Students in your state are getting high marks on their report cards. But minorities are not doing well with math and reading. Black and Hispanic students averaging 29 points lower than white students in New Jersey.
29%.
Would you address minorities first?
That's a hard question.
You have to address all students. And look, in our state, Stuart, frankly, before I was governor, that gap was close to 50%. And what we did was institute more charter schools and more Renaissance schools and more public school choice in New Jersey with innovative solutions in cities like Camden, where now we took what was the worst school district in America during my time, and we have now increased that by nearly 40% in terms of their proficiency. It can be done when you give people choice. But let's tell the truth to everybody about what this is. This public school system is no longer run by the public. It is run by the teachers' unions in this country. Randy Weingarten and her crew.
He is right.
are absolutely strangling. They are taking the worst of their members and defending them rather than advocating for our kids. And when you have the President of the United States sleeping with a member of the teachers union, there is no chance that you can take the stranglehold away from the teachers union every day. They have an advocate inside the White House every day for the worst of their teachers, not for our students to be the best they can be. A President of the United States has to take on the teachers union. I did it in New Jersey, and I will do it as President of the United States.
That's a great way to answer it.
Governor DeSantis, I have a question for you.
Hey, DeSantis, calm down.
Florida's new Black History curriculum says, quote, slaves develop skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. You have said slaves develop skills in spite of slavery, not because of it. But many are still hurt.
Trump and Elder, stop saying that, bro.
This is personal. What is your message to them?
So first of all, that's a hoax that was perpetrated by Kamala Harris. We are not going to be doing that. Second of all, that was written by descendants of slaves. These are great Black history scholars, so we need to stop playing these games. Here's the deal. Our country's education system is in decline because it's focused on indoctrination, denying parents' rights. Florida represents the revival of American education. We're ranked #1 in the nation in education by U.S. News and World Report. My wife and I, we have a 6'5" and 3-year-old. This is personal to us. We didn't just talk about universal school choice. We enacted universal school choice. We didn't just talk about Parents' Bill of Rights. We enacted the Parents' Bill of Rights. We eliminated critical race theory, and we now have American civics and the Constitution in our schools in a really big way, just like President Reagan asked for in his farewell address back in 1989. Florida is showing how it's done. We're standing with parents, and our kids are benefiting.
There's different rankings.
Florida being #1
He's
for
not
higher education. 7th year in a row.
There is not.
That's crazy. Wow.
There is not a
DeSantis.
redeeming quality in slavery. He and Kamala should have just taken the one sentence out. America has suffered because of slavery, but we've overcome that. We are the greatest nation on earth because we faced our demons in the mirror and made a decision. So often we think that all the issues, you talked about crime and education and healthcare, we always think that those issues go back to slavery. Here's the challenge though. Black families survived slavery. We survived poll taxes and literacy tests. We survived discrimination being woven into the laws of our country. What was hard to survive was Johnson's Great Society, where they decided to put money, where they decided to take the black father out of the household to get a check in the mail, and you can now measure that in unemployment, in crime, in devastation. If you want to restore hope, you've got to restore the family, restore capitalism, and put Americans back at work together as one American family.
White people
Our
go
nation
through that too, though.
continues to go in the right direction. It's why I can say I have been discriminated against, but America is not a racist country. Never, ever doubt who we are. We are the greatest country on God's green earth. And frankly, the city on the hill needs a brand new leader. And I'm asking for your vote.
I'm going to have a question for you, Mr. Ramaswamy. Over 10.7 million students in over 18,000 public schools nationwide have the ability to change their identity without parental notification.
Change their identity.
Governor Christie told Stewart last week that he would pass a federal law to protect parental rights. Would you try to do the same?
I have to be very clear about this. Transgenderism, especially in kids, is a mental health disorder. We have to acknowledge the truth of that as it is. I met 2 young women early in this campaign.
Specifically on parental rights in schools.
Parents have the right to know. And you know what the hypocrisy of this is? Even New Hampshire failed to actually get past a piece of legislation here. The very people who say that this increases the risk of suicide are also the ones saying that parents don't have the right to know about that increased risk of suicide. And I'm sorry, it is not not compassionate to affirm a kid's confusion. That is not compassion, that is cruelty. I met two young women, Chloe and Katie, early in this campaign, who are in their 20s, now regret getting double mastectomies and a hysterectomy. One of them will never have children. And the fact that we allowed that to happen is barbaric. So I will ban genital mutilation or chemical castration under the age of 18, and parents have absolutely
would you try to pass a federal law that says parents should have that right?
We are going to require states absolutely have to follow that through.
Governor Burgum
we
just
stand
to follow
for
up on
parental
this
rights.
because
yes.
you in your state you do not have a law that says
A
parents
girl
can't
with
be
blue,
notified.
green, and
But you wanna
yellow
be
hair just fell
president.
to her knees and
Would
cried.
you try to pass a federal law to say parents have that right?
I think this is a state's issue, but I do want to say something, because all night long we've been talking about issues about how it's broken in Washington, and I respect all of the people on the stage here for their 100+ years of public service. Thank you. But the reason why we're not talking about education or health care or safety being a problem in North Dakota is because we have a business leader. I've got more experience as a business leader than I think this whole group combined. I know I've created more jobs than everybody else on stage, thousands of high-paying jobs that have real meaning. So as a business leader, you come in and you treat the taxpayer like a customer. So in North Dakota, instead of fighting with the teachers' unions, we actually created a K-12 coordinating council. Everybody gets in the room, and the customer is the student.
But you do understand that this is an issue that
like
many
Doug.
people in America really are concerned about, worried about parents and notification in schools.
Yes, and that's why we have 50 platforms of innovation. That's why we have states. There are certain things the federal government is supposed to do. It's not the Department of Education. That needs to be assembled. We got to move it back to states. Do what we did in North Dakota. Instead of like, oh, here's a choice school and here's an old school, the old way with the teachers union, the kids are trapped. We made every school in North Dakota an innovation school. Every school got out from under the red tape, and the things that help teach the values that we're trying to get, like 4-H, like FFA, like Boy Scouts, they can get credit for all of that stuff in North Dakota. And by the way, North Dakota is now at the top of the median SAT scores in the country right now.
Every time Doug wins, he cooked.
The Department of Homeland Security warns that violence against LGBTQ+ people is on the rise and intensifying. According to a recent study, members of that community are 9 times more likely to be victims of violent hate crimes. As president, how would you protect this community from violent attacks and discrimination?
Well, as President of the United States, I'll stand up for the safety and the civil liberties of every American. From every background. And I want the American people to know that. But I want to answer the question as well, Dana, that you just asked Doug Burgum. Because by way of full disclosure, Chris, you mentioned the president's situation. My wife isn't a member of the teachers union, but I got to admit, I've been sleeping with a teacher for 38 years. And so full disclosure. His wife. Look, education is a state law.
You think that was funny?
It was.
The state of Indiana had one of the very first school choice programs in the country. And when I was governor of the state of Indiana, we doubled it. And as to your question, Dana, let's be very, very clear. When the Linn-Mar Community Schools in Iowa had a policy where you had to have a permission slip from your parents to get a Tylenol, but you could get a gender transition plan without notifying your parents. I weighed in with a foundation. That's not bad policy. That's crazy. We're going to stand up for the rights of parents, and we're going to pass a federal ban on transgender chemical or surgical surgery anywhere in the country. We've got to protect our kids from this radical gender ideology agenda, and we've got to empower parents at the state level with the ability to choose where their kids go to school, whether it's public, private, parochial, or homeschool. You empower parents, and our schools will straighten up and reflect our values and focus on the basics faster than you could possibly imagine.
Okay, Pence.
Next subject.
Okay, Pence. That's sad.
China is
They're arguing
investing.
crazy.
If you talk over everybody, we lose time. China is investing heavily in their tech companies. $280 billion every year on semiconductor research and development. That is 1 CHIPS Act per year. Governor DeSantis, you say companies like Google and Meta have too much power. Doesn't going after them give China an edge?
No, I think you look at how our society's developed. They have huge amount of power over our society. They've cracked down on free speech. We're not saying you don't want them to do business, but you want it to be a free market. And right now they're monopolies. But this issue of China, I think, is really going to be fundamental. We have subcontracted out so much of our national needs to the CCP. We rely on them for a whole host of issues. We need to reshore and we need to decouple all those important industries. We need to get that back in the United States. They are our top geopolitical adversary by a country mile.
Okay.
Xi Jinping's got huge ambitions, not only in the
China
Asia
Communist
Pacific, but
Party,
as you mentioned
CCP.
earlier, in our region. But ultimately, we've got to beat him on the economy. And so that's what we'll do as President of the United States.
Governor Christie, I wanted to follow up on this because 22% of American workers fear their jobs will be lost to a robot. And you said in the past that the free market is the way to go.
70%?
Would you retrain workers who lose a job to artificial intelligence, and to do what?
Well, look, what I think artificial intelligence offers us is an extraordinary opportunity to expand well beyond the productivity that we have now, and to have Americans be able to be involved in that revolution, Dana.
Yeah.
You know, each time we have shown incredible innovation and progress in this country. What we've done with it is to expand all kinds of new, even unthought of opportunities for folks. Yes, we have to do retraining for folks who lose some of their jobs, and we should be doing that. And we should have more training available both at the county college level and the local level for people to be able to access it. So yes, I would be in favor of that. But this is a much bigger issue than that. We can't be afraid of innovation. America has been the great innovator of this world over the last 250 years, a technological innovator, a manufacturing innovator, and a freedom and governmental innovator. And that's why America has to continue to stand strong in the world, pro-innovation, pro-progress.
Yeah, I think we need it.
I will tell you this. As President of the United States, what I will do is to make sure that every innovator in this country gets the government the hell off its back and out of its pocket so that it can innovate and bring great new inventions to our country that will make everybody's lives better.
I told you I was starting to like Christie a little bit. Christie be cooking.
Is banned on government-issued devices because of its ties to the Chinese government.
Is that TikTok?
Yet you joined TikTok after dinner with boxer and influencer Jake Paul. Should the commander-in-chief be so easily persuaded by an influencer?
So the answer is I have a radical idea for the Republican Party. We need to win elections. And part of how we win elections is reaching the next generation of young Americans where they are. So when I get into office, I've been very clear. Kids under the age of 16 should not be using addictive social media. We're only going to ever get to declaring independence from China, which I favor, if we actually win. So while the Democrats are running rampant, reaching the next generation 3-1, there's exactly one person in the Republican Party which talks a big game about reaching young people, and that's me. And let me level with all of you. I'm the new guy here, and so I know I have to earn your trust. What do you see? You see a young man who's in a bit of a hurry, maybe a little ambitious, bit of a know-it-all, it seems at times. I'm here to tell you, no, I don't know it all. I will listen. I will have the best people, the best and brightest in this country, whatever age they are, advising me. We will be probably many of the people on this stage included. That's how I built my companies. I want to be challenged. I want people who disagree with me. That's what makes America great, because we're not a perfect nation. We're founded on the pursuit of perfection. That is what makes America great. And that is why we will end it once we win this election.
Let Doug go.
I have to jump in here.
When Swami was speaking.
There's one person on this.
This is infuriating because TikTok is one of the most dangerous social media apps that we could have. And what you've got, honestly, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say.
Wow.
Because I can't believe that here you've got a TikTok situation. What they're doing is these 150 million people are on TikTok. That means they can get your contacts, they can get your financial information, they can get your emails, they can get text messages, they can get all of these.
The younger generation needs it.
Exactly what they're doing.
This is very important for our party, and I'm going to say
you've gone and you've helped China make medicines in China, not America. You're now wanting kids to go and get on the social media that's dangerous for all of us. You went and you were in business with the Chinese that gave Hunter Biden $5 million. We can't trust you. We can't trust you.
They are turning on Vivek. He's a problem.
That is low-key a problem.
He's the biggest threat taking a shot at him. He is a threat.
You have 15 seconds, Mr. Ramaswamy.
He's a threat.
Thank you. I think we would be better served as a Republican Party if we're not sitting here hurling personal insults and actually have a legitimate debate about policy following Reagan's 11th Commandment in his honor. And the answer is that is what actually makes our country strong. And I believe in these people.
Dang.
They disagree, but let's have a legitimate disagreement. That's what I would say.
Stuart, can we get back to the question?
No,
the
we
question
cannot.
Let Noah talk.
I'm going straight.
on this stage.
We will have to cut your mic, and I don't want to do that. I don't. So, Governor DeSantis, let me go to you. Experts say President Putin has ordered assassinations across Europe, cheated on arms control treaties with the U.S., and seeks to work with China to force our decline. President Reagan believed that if you want to prevent a war, you better be prepared to fight one. Today, the Republican Party is at odds over aid to Ukraine. The price tag so far is $76 billion. But is it in our best interest to degrade Russia's military for less than 5% of what we pay annually on defense, especially when there are no U.S. soldiers in the fight?
It's in our interest to end this war, and that's what I will do as president. We are not going to have a blank check. We will not have U.S. troops, and we're going to make the Europeans do what they need to do. But they've sent money to pay bureaucrats' pensions and salaries and funding small businesses halfway around the world. Meanwhile, our own country is being invaded. We don't even have control of our own territory. We have got to defend the American people before we even worry about all these other things. And I watch these guys in Washington, D.C., and they don't care about the American people. They don't care about the fentanyl deaths. They don't care about the communities being overrun because of this border. They don't care about the Mexican drug cartels. So as Commander-in-Chief, I will defend this country's sovereignty.
But it's not a territorial dispute. It's never been
Man,
a
let Tim
territorial
go.
dispute.
And 90% of the resources that we send over to Ukraine is guaranteed. It's a loan. It is not 90% of the money that we send over there is loan. Well, we can talk about this, but at the end of the day, 90% of the money that we send over there is actually in the form of a loan. It's not actually not be paid by Ukraine. It's paid by the NATO, our NATO allies.
So I think it's a good topic.
I think it's a really good topic too. But I will say let's debate the fact that our national vital interest is in degrading the Russian military. By degrading the Russian military, we actually keep our homeland safer, we keep our troops at home, and we all understand Article 5 of NATO.
We have to level with the American people.
I thought you said something about waiting until your turn to talk. So hold on. So at the end of the day, I'm going to finish my. I'll be happy to debate this.
I'll respond.
I'll look forward to this one right now. So at the end of the day, when you think about the fact that if you want to keep American troops at home, attack on NATO territory would bring us and our troops in. By degrading the Russian military, we reduce, if not eliminate, an attack on NATO territory.
Finish that exchange. We have to level with the American people. We have to level with the American people on this issue. The reality is just because Putin is not Putin's an evil dictator does not mean that Ukraine is good. This is a country that has banned 11 opposition parties.
A win
that has
for
actually,
Russia is a
that
win
is not
for
true.
China.
We're driving Russia.
A win for Russia is a win for China.
Excuse me, if you have
but
a chance,
I forgot you like China. That's why you'll
have your chance in just a moment. The hurling personal insults isn't helping. China is the real enemy, and we're driving Russia further into China's arms. We need a reasonable peace plan to end this, especially this is a country whose president just last week was hailing
if you let
Nazi
Putin have Ukraine, that's a green light to China to take Taiwan.
We need a
peace comes through strength.
We need a reasonable plan to peace.
Governor Christie.
The Communist Party of China is the real enemy.
Governor Christie.
This is a hot one.
Governor Christie. President Biden's first 2 years have brought China, Russia, and Iran closer together. Are we focused too much on Ukraine and not enough on this threat from the New World Order?
No, they're all connected, Stuart. They're all connected. The Chinese are paying for the Russian war in Ukraine. The Iranians are supplying more sophisticated weapons, and so are the North Koreans now as well, with the encouragement of the Chinese. The naivete on this stage from some of these folks is extraordinary. Look, I understand people want to go and talk to Putin. Guess what? So did George W. Bush. So did Barack Obama. So did Donald Trump. And so did Joe Biden when he said a small invasion wouldn't be so bad. Every one of them has been wrong. And the fact of the matter is, we need to say right now that the Chinese-Russian alliance is something we have to fight against, and we are not going to solve it by going over and cuddling up to Vladimir Putin. Look, Donald Trump said Vladimir Putin was brilliant and a great leader. This is the person who is murdering people in his own country, and now not having enough blood, he's now going to Ukraine to murder innocent civilians and kidnap 20,000 children. And let me tell you, if you think that's where it's going to stop, if we give him any of Ukraine, next will be Poland. This is a guy who said, this is a guy in 1991 who said that was the darkest moment in world history when the Soviet Union fell. Listen, everybody, he wants to put the old band back together, and only America can stop it. And when I'm president, we will.
He don't like Trump. He does not like Trump.
I don't know.
I think you're going to really like.
He wants to go to war.
Or at least you have experience in it. And we need to talk about America's farmers because there is a foreign policy connection here. The U.S. and China are in this fierce economic competition. It's hurting American businesses. And there is blowback against American farmers because China then targets them in retaliation. How would you, as president, protect American farmers and ranchers from that kind of retaliation from a foreign government like China?
Well, first of all, we've got the best farmers and ranchers in the world right here in America. If they have a level playing field, they can outcompete anyone in the world. But this is part of the larger issue that we're talking about here, which is we're in a Cold War with China. The Biden administration won't admit that. But we're also in an economic war through what we're doing with agriculture and energy. And we're also in a war with them relative to cyber war. We get attacked every day in North Dakota, every state, every school district, our tribes, all being attacked every day by either China, Russia, Iran, or North Korea. And now we've got a Biden administration whose whole policy is appeasement. They're out there, creating the world, making it less safe. $6 billion they traded for 5 people. They've just now set a price on anyone's head who's a tourist from America, who's a student from America, for kidnapping. If you want more kidnapping, put a price on it. And then they're also helping Iran get to have more closer to nuclear weapon, which pushes all of the Middle East closer to China and Russia. The whole thing is absurd. And then, of course, we're going to give Ukraine to Russia, and then we're going to give Taiwan to China, and think that's a foreign policy. That will make our nation less successful, make us more poor. And at the core of all that is energy policy, because China imports 10 million barrels of oil a day. They're the largest import in the world, and we've had 4 cabinet members from the Biden administration there this summer, and none of them talked about U.S. energy. The first one to go to each of those countries was Kerry to talk about the folly of the climate policy, which is making the world less stable. It's empowering dictators. It's not about climate change that we need worried about. It's about the Biden climate policies that are actually the existential threat to America's future.
Thank you.
Every time.
Wow.
Doug is like that.
He's doing his thing, bro. He's doing his thing.
Sending U.S. military into the country, quote, scoundrels. Mexico is the United States' most important trade partner and border security.
She does
you
have a
say
lot
you
of
will send
questions
special
about
operations to
that.
attack cartels in Mexico. So, this means boots on the ground, drone strikes.
It means special operations. It's how we deal with our terrorists. And what you need to do is understand that Mexico's not being a good partner if we lost 75,000 Americans last year. Mexico's not being a good partner if they're letting the cartels get away with what they're getting away with. What we will do is we will make sure that we send in our special operations, and we will take out the cartels, we'll take out their operations, we'll take out anything that's doing it. But we're going to go after China, because China is the one sending the fentanyl in the first place. And we will end all normal trade relations until China stops sending fentanyl. And then we'll do the special operations, and we'll get it from both sides. This is where President Trump went wrong.
He
focused on trade with China. He didn't focus on the fact that they were buying up our farmland. He didn't focus on the fact that they were killing Americans. He didn't focus on the fact that they were stealing $600 billion in intellectual property. He didn't focus on the fact that they put a spy base off our shores in Cuba. They didn't focus enough on the fact that all of our law enforcement drones in America are Chinese, and we've got all these little surveillance cells. We need to start focusing on what keeps Americans safe. That hasn't happened in a long time. As your president, I will make sure every American is safe, and we'll do whatever it takes to make that happen.
I used to like her, man.
Watch her. She kind of spit.
She did. But Doug is over her to me.
You're all auditioning for the job as president of the United States. You want to earn these votes. But the world's problems land in the Oval Office. During the presidential debates in the year 2000, neither Al Gore nor George W. Bush was asked about al-Qaeda. Yet, just 1 year later, al-Qaeda's attack on September 11th claimed nearly 3,000 lives. And the farther we get from September 11th, the closer we are to September 10th. Senator Scott, you have no executive branch experience. What has prepared you to protect the nation from a major man-made national security crisis?
One of the things I've had the good fortune of doing is serving on committees in the United States Senate, like the Senate Armed Services Committee. I'm on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, also on the Finance Committee and the Banking Committee. Talk about addressing the issue of fentanyl. I've written the legislation, passed it through the Banking Committee and the Senate that would freeze the assets and sanction the accounts of the Mexican cartels.
Wow.
There are weapons that we have within the arsenal that I was able to get past 23-0.
What?
Polarizing Senate as it is. I've also understood without question the fact that if you look at the details before 9/11, there was information and intelligence that was available that suggested an attack was coming. Having the right intelligence partners with us is key to making sure that we prevent the next 9/11 from ever happening. Having that experience for the last 10 years is really important in getting the job done.
30 seconds to you, Mr. Pence.
Well, I think you asked a question about executive experience, and I think it's vitally important. And I stand before you today as a candidate for president because I think this country's in a lot of trouble. And you hear the fire on the stage tonight. You hear the fire in all of our voices. And it's because Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. This is a time for those of us that have the experience, the tested experience, and a commitment to the conservative agenda that Ronald Reagan brought forward in this party of a strong national defense, standing with our allies, standing up to our enemies, supporting limited government and traditional values, need to step forward.
Understood.
Because, frankly, our party does face a time for choosing, as I said at the top of this debate, whether we're going to stand on the foundation of that conservative agenda that Ronald Reagan poured, or whether we're going to follow the siren song of populism unmoored to conservative principles. I'm the most experienced, most qualified, most consistent conservative in this field, and I'm ready to lead America at home and abroad on day one.
Time for choosing to go to a break. Ilya.
We need to go to a commercial break. Reagan built a coalition.
Is this halftime or this going into the fourth quarter?
They keep saying Judas.
Man, I don't know. Pitch just seemed like Biden's little brother or something. Look like they get to sleep on bunk beds.
Man, fuck.
Fourth quarter, guys. I think it is. It might be halftime. Third quarter, one of them.
It's an interesting set of questions and answers. It appears.
Water break, go get Chinese, man. Let me go get me a little water.
At least that's what Mike Pence had to say.
Man, bro, whoever keeps saying Trump elders, stop saying that shit.
I'd love to see that. Trump and elder.
Man, I need to see Trump and Ramaswamy. I'm gonna keep it 100.
They can still have elder on their team, man, on the administration.
Banking committee.
I ain't gonna lie. Now
we can skip past this.
That's not gonna do it. You know, I mean,
look,
just
man,
some things there.
right now,
turn their commentary down real quick.
Can we?
Jason, start with
No, I think I don't know.
I
We
think
probably
on the
gotta keep it
Russia
right,
question,
man.
most
I don't think we can skip past, like skip. If we paused it and then
I'm talking about like,
oh, turn it down.
Reagan library. Ronald Reagan bankrupted the Soviet Union, and we have the.
Okay, I got it again. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
To me,
I'm finna say something so wild. You gonna say this is very outrageous, bro.
What?
They should have a RICO on Biden as soon as he get out there, bro.
Yeah,
he need a RICO case, bro.
I'm not really familiar on what
he having a gang. He gang figure lady now.
Yeah, I am familiar with what he's doing, but like, I don't know. I just don't like anybody being in danger to go to jail. You know, especially if you haven't committed like a crime, like, you know, you harmed
he's damn near doing treason,
but
bro.
at this point he is harming people by letting these immigrants across, so this
is like treason, bro.
He low-key is harming people.
Like, think about this, bro, and I see why everybody's saying China is attacking us right now. The fentanyl, they send the fentanyl.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that.
They send the fentanyl to the people, right?
Yeah.
To Mexico, China, and then But it's weird because why we got all our troops by China though? That's what's messing me up.
I think just to be ready type stuff, you know.
Like he letting all them people come in, fentanyl flooding the streets.
But we've been over there. We've been over there for a long time.
What?
We've been over there in like Taiwan.
No, like that video,
Japan.
it wasn't that packed like that, bro.
Soldiers always been in Japan though.
Huh?
Soldiers have always been.
Yeah, they got a military base there.
No,
my homeboy was stationed there, but not like that, bro.
Yeah,
But they was just showing like that one video how they surrounding China.
I think the biggest problem right now is devaluing the dollar though.
Yeah,
Like,
that is a problem.
I think the war, that's kind of like a stretch. It's possible, but I think devaluing the dollar is the biggest problem.
But they,
So-
you remember we learned that, man, they divided their own currency to make more money too.
Yeah.
So, like-
yeah, that's true. That is true.
So like for them trying to like, it's just a whole lot of stuff, bro.
But yeah, we do got to get our technology in like these workforces and stuff though, guys. Because I mean, we have to compete with China, bro. When I look at on TikTok, I look on TikTok in China, it looks like extremely like tech, bro. Everything is tech over there in China. It's insane.
No, what you mean tech?
Like it's just so
Because when I see
futuristic.
China, oh, okay, that's Japan. China's more like
I
they
might
got
be.
more industry buildings. Like they having buildings.
But they got some places in China that's like tech, bro.
I have
high tech.
I've
I've seen a lot.
They
of
got the
high-tech
train. Don't they got
places.
they got the little bullet train though?
They got a lot of stuff, bro. I might need to get some water for this fourth quarter starts. I think they're from the start actually.
To be honest with you, bro, I want to low key visit China. Just I've been to Korea and Japan and all that stuff, but I never actually stood foot in China.
Okay, I think they're from the start. Let's get it. Let's keep going. I ain't gonna lie, this has been great, man. I like everybody so far.
Primary debate here at the Reagan Library. We've got a lot more issues to cover and a lot more questions to go. So let's dive right back.
It started up, guys.
We're here in California, where gas is nearing $6 a gallon.
This is a problem.
Oil is close to $100 a barrel again. You say, drill, baby, drill.
Nobody talking about gas.
Mr. Ramaswamy, how would you bring down prices without immediate drilling?
Well, look, I think that we do have to run through the courts and get through that administrative state to make sure we're using the natural resources here at home. But here's the other thing that we can do that's easy.
Forever, Mr. Ramaswamy.
And it addresses the
talking
national
about
debt
that?
as well
No,
as
not.
brings down prices. Put people back to work. We are using taxpayer money to pay people more to stay at home than to go to work. That is wrong. That contributes to our supply chain crisis. It contributes to inflation. That's the easiest way to unlock this economy. And here's the other thing. We have to put the Federal Reserve back in its place. This is an agency that has gone rogue. So in January 2026, when I have the opportunity as your next commander-in-chief, we will have a new chairman of the Federal Reserve who places priority on dollar stability. And then most importantly, send packing 75% of the administrative state, reduce the federal employee headcount by 75%, rescind 50% of unconstitutional federal regulations that are shackling businesses, both large and small. I've offered a very clear, practical plan to do it. That's how we unleash the economy. That's how we revive the integrity of a three-branch constitutional republic rather than this technocracy and aristocracy in the administrative state.
Response, please.
Wow.
I think one of the signature accomplishments of our administration was
Instead
in
of
just a
talking
few
about this
short years.
administration, man.
We achieved
You keep talking about when he was VP. He
energy
keep doing
independence.
it.
But
We
you
became
gonna-
a
you
net
gonna
exporter of energy for the first
cross my
time in
dog.
75 years.
Our administration.
But on day one, Joe Biden declared a
crazy.
war on energy, which was no surprise because when Joe Biden ran for president, he said he was going to end fossil fuels. And they've been working overtime to do that ever since. If I'm president of the United States, we're going to open up federal lands. We're going to unleash American energy. We're going to have an all-of-the-above energy strategy. And I have a plan that actually would not only reclaim energy independence, but in 2006, America lost our position as the leading energy producer on Earth. I believe in the next 10 years, with the right policies and experienced leadership in the White House, we can reclaim our role as the leading energy producer on Earth, and that'll grow the American economy for generations to come.
I think it's possible.
Reaction to that, please.
The only person who's leading an energy state. Could I answer the energy question?
No, Governor Haley.
So, you know,
Yeah,
the first thing I'll
should.
say is what I saw
Wow.
at the United Nations is energy security is national security. We need a president that understands we have to partner with our producers and make sure that we have their backs. What you don't need is a president who is against energy independence. Ron DeSantis is against fracking. He's against drilling. He's been against, you did it. He always talks about what happens on day one. You better watch out, because what happens on day two is when you're in trouble. Day two in Florida, you banned fracking, you banned offshore drilling, you did it on federal lands, and you took green subsidies that you didn't have to pay.
Governor DeSantis, you were
No, it actually says Texas leads in energy, Doug. I don't know
I
about
just
Doug.
did a
Hold on.
plan out in West Texas for American energy dominance. We're going to choose Midland over Moscow. We're going to choose the Marcellus
Midland,
over
Texas.
the Mullahs, and we're going to choose Bakken over Beijing.
Texas,
and we are
Wyoming,
going to
Pennsylvania.
lower your gas prices. We are going to get that job done because it's important for our national security. It's important for jobs, and that's one of the best ways to drive down inflation.
Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis.
Wait, is Doug North Dakota or Wyoming?
North Dakota.
Our
Yeah, I
voters
didn't see his
enacted a
state.
constitutional
You
amendment
banned it before
that
they
doesn't
voted.
allow. No, it's not true.
You banned it before they voted, and
Nikki,
not only that, fracking wasn't, they didn't
she's
vote on
just totally
fracking.
wrong. They voted it
Check
in.
it.
That's
Check
what we
it.
did. Onshore, we do it in Florida. We don't have as much as maybe West Texas, but we do it. But that was the constitution. So that's just wrong. And let's just get real here. My plan will get the job done. We are going to be energy dominant, and that's what's going to happen.
And the voters didn't even vote on fracking. You banned
We are
fracking.
moving on with this
We need to
question
check
from
up on
Governor
that.
DeSantis. Governor, excuse me, we cannot talk over each other. We must respect each other's time. My apologies for that.
I don't know, Doug. It don't say that.
This is your
Google
question.
can be wrong sometimes.
The
though.
Biden administration is hell-bent on student loan forgiveness, but you say colleges should be on the hook when graduates cannot pay their debt. How does that address the cost of college? The cost of college itself?
Because the colleges are going to have to make a decision. Do we expand the gender studies department, knowing some of those graduates may not have great learning opportunities? No, they're going to focus on the things that really matter. They're going to make different choices. They're going to try to graduate people in 4 years. I also just want to come back to something Dana asked last segment about 9/11, because I was just at the 9/11 memorial with the families, my wife and everybody. It's very touching to be there, and it affected my life because I ended up joining the military as a result of that. I had been a blue-collar kid, minimum wage in Dunedin, Florida. I ended up getting through Yale and Harvard Law School and somehow came out more conservative than when I went in, and that is not easy to do. Had a lot of opportunities to make money, but I wanted to serve, and I'll never forget coming back on the plane from Iraq, landing in Coronado, California, North Island, and feeling that breeze off the Pacific Ocean and say, you know what? I am lucky to have been born an American, and I think being able to serve, and I'll be the first president elected since 1988 who's actually served overseas in a war. I think that's going to help me as commander-in-chief.
Yeah, I think it will too, man.
How you see these issues and understand that there are real lives at stake for people that wear the uniform.
And we know that Governor Haley's husband
Actually,
is serving
guys.
right now as well. And
What's he
we
going to
thank
do
you
about
for
the
that.
homeless
Senator
veterans?
Scott, the national debt has nearly doubled in your time in office. The approval rate for Congress is at a mere 19%. If this were a business, you'd probably all be fired in Washington, but you're here tonight looking for a promotion. In 2013, Governor Haley hired you for the Senate. I'd like you to tell her why you should be promoted to CEO of the nation instead of her.
Oh, shit, they get spicy.
Certainly. One of the things I'd say is if you look at our national debt of $33 trillion, I would love to have an opportunity to have this country pass a balanced budget amendment. That would constrain the spending in Washington in the same fashion that it does in every state in our nation, number one. Number two, if you want to actually reduce our national debt, you have to grow our economy. In order to grow our economy, you need to create about 10 million jobs to grow our economy at 5%. You can do that in three specific sectors. Number one, the energy sector. We could create between 3 and 3.5 million jobs if we unleashed all of our energy resources. America is we're the richest country if you combine coal, gas, and oil. Why not unleash all of our
why
resources?
don't we do that?
Number two, we've lost 100,000 factories. 100,000 factories in the last 25 years. If we continued on my Made in America plan, we could bring jobs back to America in a similar fashion that we did when I wrote the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. We actually lowered the corporate tax from 35% to 21%, reshored or repatriated $1.7 trillion. We brought the unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians to the lowest level in the history of the country, and a 70-year low for women.
Governor Haley, would you
Tim
think you would deserve the
first of
promotion
all,
over
I think,
him?
look, I appreciate Tim. We've known each other a long time, but he's been there 12 years and he hasn't done any of that. He's only given 4 budgets on time in 40 years. He was part of that. He increased the national debt. He voted for the spending. He has made sure that the borders are open and they haven't done anything. Look at everything that's happened. 12 years. Where have you been?
Oh, they on top of each other.
Tim, 12 years. We've waited and nothing has happened.
Are they both in South Carolina?
South North, I think.
I think they're both south.
Let me finish
All these guys have said
I think one's the senator and one of the
I appreciate
governor.
a lot of the things they're saying.
Nikki
I'm the
Haley.
only one up here who's gotten in the big fights and has delivered big victories for the people of Florida. And that's what it's all about.
DeSantis.
You can always talk, but when it gets hot in there, when they're shooting arrows at you, are you going to be stand up for parents' rights, to keep the state free? Are you going to be able to do all those things? And in the state of Florida, because of our success, the Democratic Party lies in ruins. We have won the big fights. We have turned our state into a Republican state. People respond to leadership. I've done it while others have talked about it.
CEO, we actually have a CEO in the White House, which is what I think we need. If I may just briefly interject here.
Hey, let Rose go, man.
Zero-based budgeting. That's the way businesses are actually run. Start with 0 as the baseline for the budget, and then see what's actually necessary. There isn't a blue state or a red state in this union that does it. The federal government doesn't do it, but successful companies, including the ones that I've built as a CEO, do it. And I think we need a CEO in the White House to get that done.
Governor Burgum runs a state that way.
Yeah,
Yes,
tech
go
questions,
ahead.
you didn't ask the only guy that's been in tech. You have energy questions, you don't ask anything. But I'm just going to say
He
right
has second,
now,
guys.
when you say nobody else has done it,
In the nation.
the energy plans that have all been announced in the last
Petroleum.
month by these other folks on stage, we're already doing it in North Dakota.
They are.
The border plans they're already talking about, we've got troops down at the border flying helicopter missions from North Dakota, from San Diego to the Gulf Coast, trying to stop transnational criminal organizations from inflicting the invasion and the mass casualties in our state. And on the energy policy,
That's
we're already
crazy.
doing it. And it's
I
not
might go to
saying
North
nobody else
Dakota.
done the big fights. North Dakota
They
was
have mass
leading
casualties.
the charge. We won the battle to get the Biden administration, who was ignoring the law. They were the first administration since Truman that wasn't holding the quarterly required lease sales, and we won that in federal court. WOTUS, we won that in
Might as
federal
well
court.
kick
We're fighting
Biden
the
out right
Biden
now,
administration
man.
on 20 fronts. To say that nobody's fighting the big fights, just look at the record of what we're doing right now. Energy, economy, national security, have been talking about it since day one, and now finally good, we're having the conversation about it, but we've got the answer in
Yeah,
North
because
Dakota.
the gas prices don't make no sense, brother. We got to fix that.
Big government keeps getting bigger. 1/5 of all new jobs this year have been created by the government. Governor Burgum, you say you want to shrink the size of government, but it has been a century since any president has done that. Why would you be any different?
Well, because we've done it in North Dakota. When I took office, we shrunk the state budget general fund by 27% in the first 4 months I was office, and all the trains still running on time. Why? Because you had a business leader that was actually there. Inside of every government job, there's 10 or 20% of mind-numbing, soul-sucking work that even the state and federal employees don't want to do, and you can engineer that work out of the job. That would free up right there 20% of 2 million civilian employees. And by the way, we've got 10 million jobs open. They'd have plenty to do, and they could be in generating taxes instead of being paid by taxes. This is totally possible to do it if you have somebody that understands. Having worked in technology for 30 years, everything we had to do was to be better, faster, and cheaper the next day. That's what we can do in government. That's what we're doing in North Dakota.
All right, Governor DeSantis.
Doug different. Man, Doug, him and Tim scrapping, but I might gotta go
Something that I
Doug.
think is on a lot of Republicans' minds. This election could come down to less than 50,000 votes in 3 states. Abortion was on the ballot in 6 states in 2022. Republicans lost all of them. Next year, abortion will likely be on the ballot in Arizona. That is a must-win state. Governor DeSantis, how are you going to win over independent, pro-choice voters in Arizona?
Same way we did in Florida. We won the greatest Republican victory in a governor's race in the history of the state, over 1.5 million votes. We were winning places like Miami-Dade County, Palm Beach, that nobody thought was possible because we were leading with purpose and conviction. I reject this idea that pro-lifers are to blame for midterm defeats. I think there's other reasons for that. The former president, he's missing in action tonight. He's had a lot to say about that. He should be here explaining his comments to try to say that pro-life protections are somehow a terrible thing. I want him to look into the eyes and tell people who've been fighting this fight for a long time. My wife and I earlier today were at the gravesite of President and Mrs. Reagan, and I noticed that there was a quote where it says, "Every single person has purpose and worth." We're better off when everybody counts. And I think we should stand for what we believe in. I think we should hold the Democrats accountable for their extremism, supporting abortion all the way up until the moment of birth. That is infanticide, and that is wrong.
Yep, it is.
Governor
like
Christie,
that.
do you think that Republicans?
Yes, I will.
Okay,
Thank you.
Governor
I think
Christie,
everybody
do you
gonna
think
agree
that
with that, though.
Republicans can do that in Arizona if this referendum is on the ballot there?
Yeah, because I did it in New Jersey.
Democrats not winning those states.
Then
I
why are
don't feel
all these
like
other
this.
states
This
losing?
next
Well,
election.
because they don't have leaders in
probably
those
still
states
is,
who
bro.
are leading the fight
Yeah.
the
They
way
got
it should
the
be
alphabet
led.
mafia.
And in fact, look, I was a governor here of the only blue
2%.
state that's represented up here. This is where
And
the fight
immigrants.
is really tough for Republicans, and those are the states that we're going to have to try to win if we're going to win the White House back. And what we did was 14 times, Dana, in 8 years, I vetoed Planned Parenthood funding. 14 times. No one else gets it that much. The Democrats just kept sending it to me, and I kept saying no because I believe in life, but I also believe in states' rights. And I think we fought hard against Roe versus Wade for decades to say that states should make these decisions. So we're going to have those fights in the states. But what you need is a leader who can talk to people and make them understand that if you're pro-life, you have to be pro-life for the entire life, not just the 9 months in the womb. And we talked a lot about fentanyl
like
tonight,
Christie for
and
some
we haven't
reason
spoken
now.
one moment about treatment. But we need to make sure that for the drug-addicted 16-year-old on the floor of the county lockup, her life is precious too. And we need to be providing treatment to cure this as a disease that it is. If you're pro-life, you got to be pro-life for the entire life. We start talking like that, they're going to do what I did in the blue state, which was get reelected with 61% of the vote and won 70% of independents and 51% of Latinos because I told them the truth from my heart.
Yeah, I just feel a good connection with Christie for some reason. I feel like keep it 100.
73% of Latino voters think the Republican Party doesn't care about or is being hostile toward them, the Hispanic community. Only Governor
that's why
DeSantis
she
has
up there to
translated his
represent them.
campaign into Spanish.
Facts.
How
I picked
will
that too.
you reach out to Latino voters?
Well, I promise you that we're going to continue to build bridges to every community in this country. And I'm incredibly proud of that. Tax cut and tax reform bill. I worked on Capitol Hill to help get that bill passed into law, the largest tax cut in American history. We saw literally the lowest unemployment ever recorded for Hispanic Americans. The lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans.
He loves bringing up like when he snaked Trump.
So I think the President of the United States needs to be a champion for the American dream for every American. It begins with the unborn and the aged and the infirm. And it begins with every ethnic group in this country. And I promise you, if I'm President of the United States, I'll be a champion. I'll be a champion for the American dream, for Hispanic Americans, and for every American. So help me God.
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't even make me want to lock in when you talk.
Nope. If you lead by
Look at Tim.
example, it's the best way to get the job done. If you look at my office in the Senate, my chief of staff is the only Hispanic female chief of staff in the Senate. I hired her because she was the best, highest qualified person we have. What we need are leaders who lead by example. And I will simply say, I would love to finish my conversation with Nikki as it relates to the job that needs to get done. Nikki offered a 10-cent gas tax increase in South Carolina. Talk about someone who has never seen a federal dollar she doesn't like. 10 cents on this gallon in South Carolina. As the UN ambassador, you literally put $50,000 on curtains in a $15 million subsidized location.
Trying to articulate.
Next.
You got bad information. First of all, I fought the gas tax in South Carolina multiple times against the establishment.
Just go to YouTube.
Against the establishment. You want to know what that 10 cent was? When they wouldn't pass the gas tax, the establishment and the companies wanted me to do it so much that I said the only way I will pass it if you will give us three.
All you have to do is go watch Nikki Haley on YouTube.
If you will give me 3 times the deduction in income tax, then I will look at your gas
So you
tax,
said
which
yes,
is why it didn't
you would
happen.
pass.
Secondly,
Exactly, Ron.
secondly, on the 50 million.
Here's a nice part.
Secondly, on the curtains, do your
Vivek
homework, Tim, because
laughing.
Obama bought those curtains.
Did you send them back?
It's in the press.
Did you send them back?
It's the State Department.
Did you send them back?
you send them back? You're the one that works in Congress.
Oh my gosh.
You get it
You
done.
hung them on your curtains.
They were up at the residence. You are scrapping.
here's
You
a-
are scrapping.
I'm not scrapping.
Excuse me. You know
Here's a fact. Here's a fact.
Yeah.
I cut taxes. I loaded up our
You wanted a gas tax increase, and then you wanted
It's coming down to the 2 minutes
We
left.
intend to go ahead like this. In fact, we're about to take a commercial break.
Another commercial
More
break?
of the second Republican debate live.
This
from
fourth
the
quarter
Reagan
then.
Presidential
This
Library.
debate
In just
is
a
longer
few
than the
minutes.
last one, I feel like.
Wow.
I
I thought that was
we don't
it.
know what quarter it is.
Nah. This the last quarter. Nah, this not halftime, bro.
This one's definitely longer
It said
than
8 to 10.
All right, well, it's
Yeah.
confirmed. I don't think Tim
Oh,
Scott and
they
Nikki
still
Haley like
arguing.
each other. I didn't. They were pitted against each other a little
They
bit
still arguing?
at the beginning of this, and the
All right,
fight
we gonna
continued.
view them.
I'm hearing a little bit of audio in my background.
What y'all thinking right now, though? Like, who y'all got, man? Who y'all top 3 right now in this debate?
In this
Who
debate,
y'all feeling?
I'm feeling Doug. I might get Doug. I ain't gonna lie. I might put Lil Christy up there too. 'Cause
Christy
he-
going crazy. I can't get out.
I ain't gonna lie. Tim is showing something to
Tim
me
going
too.
crazy.
So
I'm saying Vivek low key, he cooked every time he's, but he's not just controlling the stand right now.
Yeah, he not being aggressive like
They're all
that.
teaming up on him. That's why.
Yeah, but
I think actually this time gonna be real, man.
What?
Unpopular opinion.
DeSantis?
DeSantis been eating.
No, DeSantis is eating.
DeSantis is
This
definitely
is
number
hard.
one.
This is
I'm
so
gonna go
hard.
DeSantis. I ain't gonna lie, Nikki kind of eating too.
Nikki is
don't
Which
know,
one is
man. Nikki might be at the bottom of the
New
league.
Jersey dude?
Huh?
That's
That's Christy.
I don't really like him.
Christy said I can feel Christy a little bit.
I'm gonna go me, DeSantis, Nikki, Doug.
I don't know what the hell I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go
Because I like
DeSantis.
everybody so
Me
far.
too. I
New
can't do it.
Jersey.
Well, you guys like Chris Christie. That's
I
surprising.
just like Chris
back.
Christie a little bit.
Huh?
Just a little bit now.
That's New Jersey.
Yeah, he ain't doing it for me.
Only thing I don't like about
He's
him,
just fat, man.
He
It's
just
hard to trust a fat person.
he just going hard on
But
Trump.
he seems like he's
'Cause why
keeping.
don't you care
He
about
seems like he's
yourself?
genuine. I feel like I could sit down with Chris Christie and
Bruh.
have a genuine conversation.
Have a
I
good
don't
old
fuck with
donut.
Chris, bro.
Vivek, I feel like I can have a genuine conversation. Tim, I feel like I can have a genuine conversation.
No, man, I'm gonna keep.
That's a
I
probably
think.
body
I
age.
think.
Maybe
I'm
DeSantis
going
too.
me off this one. Who's selling me the most? Doug, Ryan, Nikki.
Doug
Yeah,
is
I might go that same order, take Nikki off and put Tim.
But
Or-
DeSantis with the #1 education.
He's
DeSantis
he,
going
he
crazy.
might be my one because of that too.
We need the
I ain't
education.
gonna lie,
man.
I don't really like Tim this time. He just keep talking so slow. Like, come on, brother. Like,
Yeah.
but come
And I
on, you gotta
hate
work
the
on
way
your
he
oration
talks.
skills.
I hate the sound of
He's just so slow. I'm like, bro, get it out.
I think he just talks slow so he fully could articulate his words.
Because he's still.
If he talk fast,
like-
yeah, if he talk fast, I know what he probably gonna happen. I know what Tim trying to do,
But
y'all.
I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I think this is they arguing too much. They beefed out.
They said no way, Doug and Nikki's the worst. Wow, Chad.
They said that?
Yes.
Damn.
Wow, Chad.
They said we should try to get DeSantis on. If we got DeSantis on, that'd be fucking nuts.
That would be insane. What's
Let's
his
do
PR
it.
team? Y'all find this PR team for us. and
Everybody
email
go
it.
on his Instagram and spam Cartier family.
Yeah, everybody in the chat.
If anybody
say
can get
interview
us,
Cartier family.
if
chat.
anybody can get us his information, I'll personally cash up you $100. I would.
1,000. Well,
Okay,
let's
don't
not
get
say
ahead of
that.
yourself.
Brandon's gonna give y'all
I'll pay you.
$1,000 a piece.
Hey, who is he?
No.
I
If you
always
like
see
this
his
video.
face
100.
before. Huh?
Huh?
Oh, y'all missed his face, bro. Trump for the win, man. Trump is in Michigan. I think he got an interview right now.
We reacted to bro in the top right, huh?
They said Nikki is a mudslinger. What does that mean?
She's slinging
She's
mud.
throwing-
She's
she's
throwing
throwing
dirt on
shots.
people now.
Yeah.
She's
Oh.
sending shots. She's the
Oh.
most sending shots one.
Yeah? I don't know, man. Chris Christie is for sure taking the most shots. Talking about, we're going to call you Donald Duck.
Well, he
Shut
throwing
your
shots
ass
at Donald Trump.
Yeah,
but she going shots on purpose. Yeah, she pulling everything out the closet. She hit Vivek,
But
Tim.
everybody's making stuff sound good though. At the same time, everybody's trying to make it sound good. So we technically don't know who's really gonna come through with their promises.
Yeah, no, it's all talk.
They said right now Trump is speaking in a storm in Michigan.
Yeah, he's in Michigan right now.
Hey, are they about to start up? They're all back on the stage.
Yeah, they are. I think.
Stop vaping. It's bad. What?
What's going on?
Somebody said stop vaping. It's bad.
Vaping. Who's
Yeah.
vaping?
That's what I'm saying. What?
They tapped
just
in.
talking. People just say a lot of stuff because now they saying Larry in the comments. That's just crazy.
I
Why
do-
they
I
playing
do-
with Larry Elder like
I
that?
do wish
though?
Larry was
They
up
probably
there.
like Larry.
Hey,
Larry could be
here
on
we
the
go, here we go.
on the administration.
It's 7 o'clock there. Damn, it's 2. It's 9.
it can't be.
7 o'clock where?
It says 7:57 there.
Yeah, they
It's
they
now
behind.
obvious
They in
that
California.
if you all stay
They in
in the
Cali.
race,
Oh, it's 2 hours. Yeah.
former President Donald Trump wins the nomination. None of you have
We going to
indicated
10
that you're
time.
dropping out. So, which one of you on stage tonight should be voted off the island?
Oh, each
Wow.
time someone gets
Please
voted
use
on.
your
like that. That's a great
to write
question.
your choice on the notepad in front of you.
Get piss ass about it. I'm sorry.
Of the people
They're
on the
gonna
stage
gang up.
who should be. I'm
I'll decline
absolutely
to do that
serious.
with all due respect. I mean, we're here, like, we're happy to debate, but I think that that's disrespectful to my fellow competitors.
Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to
I'm gonna be the
participate.
pyramid.
Questions.
He gotta go.
The country.
Yeah, I mean they shouldn't do that.
I would have said something.
Let me ask you this.
If I may,
Let me ask you something.
Yep.
Then if you won't answer to that question, let me ask you this one.
Yeah.
What is your mathematical path,
Yes.
Governor DeSantis, in order to try to beat President Trump, who has a commanding and enduring lead in this race?
Commanding lead.
Polls
Wow.
don't elect presidents. Voters elect presidents.
Right.
And we're
Yeah,
going to
that's
take the
true.
case
But
to
the
the people
polls
in these early
see where their
states. We're going to do it in a
thoughts is at,
state-by-state
isn't
direction. And why? Because
not
as
everybody.
Reagan said in his
I'm
day,
not on the
this
ball.
is our time for choosing. We are not getting a mulligan on the 2024
vote for
election.
Trump, though.
Republicans have lost 3 straight
Maybe.
elections in a row. We were supposed to have a red wave with inflation at 9%. It crashed and burned. Not in Florida, it didn't. We delivered it in Florida. And so we've got to choose right. We've got to win. And we need somebody that's going to be able to serve 2 terms. So in January of 2023, they'll be able to address the nation saying, we turned the economy around, we secured the border, and we fended off the threat from communist China.
Yes.
As your president, I will get that job done.
Well, let's see it, buddy.
I believe I did see you write something. Governor Christie, I believe, excuse me,
on, man.
Governor Christie, I believe I did see you write something on the card. Who was it?
No, but I'll
Hey,
certainly
let's get
tell you.
the chat. I mean, the video to 1,000 likes,
I
guys.
think I've been the
You
only
gonna say
one on the
Vivek?
stage who's been clear about this. I vote Donald Trump off the island right now. And the reason I vote him off the island,
They love keep coming at Trump, bro.
every
They
person
love
on
it.
the stage has shown
He
the
said, "Who'd you
respect
write on that
for
card?"
Republican voters to come here
Bro,
to express their views
wrote
honestly,
Vivek.
candidly, and directly, and to take your questions honestly. I have respect for every man and woman on this stage because they've done it. Vivek, put your hand down for a second, would you? I still got time, dude. So chill out. Here, look. This guy has not
Chris
only
knew he was
divided
his
our
name.
party, he's divided families all over this country. He's divided friends all over this country. I've spoken to people, and I know everyone else has, who have sat at Thanksgiving dinner or at a birthday party and can't have a conversation anymore if they disagree with Donald Trump.
That's
he
on
needs to
them,
be
wow.
voted off the island, and he needs to be taken out of this process.
Can we get Vivek 15 seconds? Vivek.
That's kind of like your.
Here's the thing. Look, I have a different view on this. I think Trump was an excellent president, but the America First agenda does not belong to one man. It does not belong to Donald Trump. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you, the people of this country.
There you go.
And the question is, who's going to unite this country and take the America First agenda to the next level? When we rallied behind the cry to make America great again, we did not just hunger for a single man. We hungered for the unapologetic pursuit of excellence. So yes, I will respect Donald Trump and his legacy because it's the right thing to do. But we will unite this country to take the America First agenda to the next level. And that will take a different generation.
We do need a strong person leading and going talk to these other foreign countries, though,
The
man.
second Republican primary debate live
Wow.
from the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library.
Vivek got the last word out last time, I
Having you
think.
here tonight, and we will see you out on the campaign trail.
Have a
Wow.
great evening. Thank you for joining us.
This was a great second one, man.
That was a good second.
That was nice. I like everybody, man. I wouldn't be mad.
Let's
It's
go
probably-
watch the first one again real quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
No, I wouldn't be mad if anybody was president. Maybe if Pence and
I'd be mad if Pence.
I don't know. I think Ron definitely flexed on him a little bit. We just talked about what he's accomplished in his state. He definitely has done more than everybody up there.
Yeah, he did.
I would say him and Doug.
I like him.
Him and Doug was the only ones walking that wall. He was like, "Look, y'all want to talk about people that know about energy and the border? I'm already doing it."
But Tennessee
we
had the highest
we got
tax
Black
cut.
Hawks.
Yeah,
we got
I'm gonna keep it
highest SAT high school. I'm okay. Like you popping your shit a little bit.
But North Dakota, man, like.
But look though,
Florida. Hey, Ron DeSantis was
Ain't
popping
nobody
his
there.
shit too.
People are really
though.
in Florida. You know, there's a lot of people there. You got big cities.
Yeah.
Who would you want to represent America when they go to these foreign countries, though? I can't see Tim Scott going to a foreign country, someone taking him serious.
Yeah, I
He
don't
going
see
there
him-
smiling.
I
now.
don't see him as a
Yeah,
good
that man
foreign diplomat.
Yeah,
Shut your ass up.
I can see Doug going in there. Chris Christie, I think he'll start sweating and getting tired and shit.
Yeah, I
I
don't
can
trust
see Chris
Chris.
Christie there, just flame Chris Christie.
I
He
don't
get
trust
red.
Nikki either.
Yeah,
Just because
Nikki,
like
she might be better than them, actually.
Okay, I'm gonna say it like this. I don't
I wanna
trust
know-
Nikki because like when she go meet with these foreign countries, how many countries are gonna have
Or
women,
respect, yeah.
a woman
True.
representing them?
That's
true.
gonna be another
like-
thing. Okay, I feel like
And I
Somebody
don't
said
mean that
Kanye.
as an insult to her.
No, yeah,
like she
you
could be
keeping
a
it real.
VP.
You
She
keeping
could be
it
a
real.
VP.
Keeping it
Yeah,
real.
But
no,
like the head honcho.
Yeah, like, I like her, but yeah, I just
Putin
don't
ain't
think
gonna-
people would
you
take
know.
her serious.
Like she going to sit in front of Putin and one of them Chinese leaders. They gonna look at her
So-
like, no, bitch.
In this debate, who do y'all think these foreign countries are going to take the most serious?
I'm gonna go Ron. I'm gonna go maybe Doug. And
Yeah,
you know,
I feel
and you
like
want to know
Doug's
something?
credible.
Y'all might get on my ass about this.
Maybe
I'm gonna say
Vivek 'cause he's a
Pence.
businessman.
You said Pence?
Yeah, he do look scary.
Yeah, Pence does
It's,
look
like,
like he
it's,
might.
it's only because he's been in the house before. He's done it already.
Yeah, seriousness. Yeah, that is true, man. We need to
But-
look at seriousness.
Yeah,
we
I
need
don't
to
know. I don't know
stop
who would
hearing,
be the best foreign diplomat.
Because they're going to just feed us a bunch of bullshit that sounds good.
You want to know what I say? I will say though, just based off his history, like you know how foreign diplomats might try to come like, oh, we gonna do this if you don't do this. The one I know for sure is gonna combat that, Ron DeSantis. He
Yeah.
already did it in Florida.
Yeah.
He already done stood up for what,
I think
what,
DeSantis and
what they
Vivek,
believe in.
Because
Yeah, I
Vivek
like
is a
Vivek.
business
I feel like-
person. So in order to build like several successful businesses like that, you have to have the ability to sit down with people and make
I will
deals.
say,
and
I would say I do like Vivek as like
Yeah.
a economic guy. I think he could do something good for the
On
economy.
the serious side,
Possibly.
on the serious
I think
side,
that's a
I would
big
do
thing.
that. I would go Vivek DeSantis. I don't know who I would put. I would probably put Doug at my third. I just don't think people would take Tim serious. I like Tim. I just don't think they're gonna take him
What?
serious, man.
I don't think so.
What's
either.
going on?
The camera just overheated.
Oh,
Seriously?
Yeah, I just seen it.
Damn.
That's crazy.
we've been going for a minute.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, guys, if y'all can still hear us, the camera just went out, but we love you guys and we're out of here.